Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of Wick TV. It's a cross ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political, cultural, from the silly to the serious. We got one more coming. When she gets here, she gets here. NotsoErudite will be joining us hopefully soon. Welcome to the show. Gang, primary season is pretty much over. Okay, we don't have that many left. Do we have any left? Maybe Florida.
Florida, and then we got Massachusetts because there's in September for some reason.
Yeah, it's very little primaries left, and so here at Wick TV we are transitioning to beating MAGA in the midterms. Okay, we did all we could for now for the primaries. Okay, we got as many moderates in as possible. Now we're facing the threat of Trump. And I thought it would be helpful to kind of have a sit down and talk with some of the smartest people I know about what we should do to win. Where should we put our time, our resources? Who should we back? Who should we ignore? What races are strong? What races need our support and are weak? Where's the best use of our time? I also want to talk about messaging in general, how we should approach as influencers, right? And as voters, talking to your families, talking to your friends. When you're trying to say, when someone's like, well, I don't really care who I should vote for, or I don't really know who I should vote for, what kind of things should you tell them? Like, what should our messaging be? And we got some great people here tonight to talk about it. I'm going to give them the mic to introduce themselves, maybe a little bit, tell them who you are, what you do, why we should listen to you. I'm going to give the mic first to Miss Alice and then Aidan. Okay, Alice, take it away.
Hi, I'm Alice Poole. I stream at She's Right Show. When I thought this was still more of a debate space culture, that's long dead. So I've been figuring out what is effective, and I feel so excited, like I studied for the right test. I have spreadsheets, I have charts, I have resources by several nonprofits on what works, and we're just gonna nerd out, and I'm very excited. At She's Right Show.
Check her out, game. Happy to have her. We'll get into it as we go. I'm really excited to see these spreadsheets. Aidan.
I got a library card for this.
A library card? Wait, you didn't have a library card before?
Not since I moved here the past year, and I realize now I can do it online with my local library.
It's okay. So. We'll talk about that another day. Aidan, mic's yours.
All right. Wait, can you hear me? I just changed a setting.
You're fine. We can hear you.
Okay. Cool. So my name is Aidan. I'm a research coordinator at Digital Ground Game. And my whole thing is I focus on elections and maps. I've been obsessed with them since I was like 14 back in 2016. And it's just been going on and on from there. So I have a lot of experience looking at elections, analyzing elections, a little bit of experience predicting them. I started in 2020 and that one went really bad for me, but I've gotten better over the years. So.
Well, I'm glad you've gotten better. Fair enough. Give me 1 second. Erudite's. Okay. Erudite. Yeah, Erudite's on another show. She'll be here when she can. I guess scheduling got mixed up. It is what it is. We're going to make do with what we got. So I guess the first question I have for both of you. So I've seen national poll after national poll with the general Democrat ticket up by +5, +7, +9 in some cases. How realistic is that? And how will it translate to actual victories? What is the state of play? Like just like a 10,000-foot view, overview. Where are we at? How many seats do we need, etc. Aidan, I'm gonna let you handle this one. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we taking a look at the polling. The national polling can be a bit kind of I don't want to say irrelevant, but like it's kind of like a secondary indicator, because the national result is like a product of the statewide results and like everything that happens. So what can happen is, just because you have like a D+10 environment, that doesn't mean that everything is like universally shifting D+10. It means that some states are probably going to be shifting D+20 and some states might not be moving at all. So you're going to have like some mixed things around. That's why if you hear people saying like, I'll say I can't lose, we're winning in all these other states. And you should never feel safe about that because elections are not uniform in that way. Anybody can win, anybody can lose. It all depends on the individual race. So I tend to view the national ballot as more of a product of like like each individual race rather than like as a collective thing that's like everybody's just going to win or everybody's just going to like do well.
Now, that makes sense, right? Local conditions, different candidates can be strong in an environment or weak in an environment, and they can have different outcomes. And of course, like scandals or breaking news or everything can kind of shift the winds. So I understand that. So we are in kind of a good national environment, but don't take it for granted, gang. What are your thoughts on this, Miss Alice? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have no idea. The national tides are really weird. Especially here on out, we're just gonna have a lot of AI slop fucking up everything. And we have different groups of different like privilege levels, more or less willing to like answer polls and fuck with everything. We saw the Francesca Hong polls were made up by like something like it's a social experiment. We just lied and no one checked us. So I'm scared about all of that. I think the more national something is, the more likely it's going to be full of misinformation and disinformation.
What was that? Yeah, what was I? I'm blanking on the name. It was a media research.
I think it was Median Strategies. It was called.
Okay, can you, if you're familiar with it, because I just saw this happen today, but I hadn't had a chance to look into it. Do either of you know like the TLDR and what happened there?
I mean, they just made up a social. Well, they claimed that they made up a social experiment to see how fake polls would like propagate throughout the information environment. And so they like recently there was an email about that got sent to the New York Times, and so they just basically dissolved their whole organization after they said that. So they did the Sam Pepper. It was a prank, bro. Argument.
So in other words, according to them, they wanted to see how misinformation, a false poll, would affect the Twitterverse and the social media and all that and the news, and they just made it up and sent it out.
That's what they claimed they did. So I think that's best case scenario.
That's insane. That's insane.
I also want to give Alice a little bit of, I guess, respite when it comes to the polling stuff, because when you look at like general election polls, you shouldn't have the same, at least in theory, you should not have the same worries as you did with the primary polls, because in general elections, they can test for the recalled vote. So they can make sure that the people that they're polling voted like the way that they did for Trump in 2024 and seeing how they changed. Whereas in a primary, you can't really do that. It's just kind of like, you just kind of have to get it right. Whereas with the general election polls, you can test it based on the electorate, like how did they vote before? Okay, if this is a Trump +1 electorate and it's Wisconsin, this is probably a good electorate. So they don't have to have that same like massive worry about like, are we like too many young voters or anything like that? So they can get a general pool.
Interesting. Okay. So what would you think? Do you guys want to start with the House or the Senate first? No, doesn't. No one cares here. Okay. Let's go with the House first. So every prediction market I've seen, every indicator I've seen shows we're going to win the House. What do you guys think? Are we talking 20 seats, 30 seats, 40 seats? What is your impression based on what you've seen of how many seats are likely for the Democrats to get?
So I think that Democrats are pretty much guaranteed to win the House, and by that I mean like around 220. Now past that, I think they're likely to get more than that. I think that's just like the minimum. I think that like unless something serious happens, Democrats have like an 85 to 90% chance of winning the House. Now when it comes to the overall margin, it's going to range from like 220 at the lowest to like 235 at the highest, which seems like a small range. But the problem is that polarization and gerrymandering have basically forced the House into like, no matter what the national result is, like unless it's like literally like an FDR style like 30-point 20 or 20-point blowout or whatever, the maximum you're going to get is going to be around, for Democrats, it's going to be around 235 to 240 seats in the House.
What do you think, Alice? What are your thoughts? Just echoing.
I don't have any thoughts on numbers, but like I'm just trying the vibes, thinking like where, kind of triaging and prioritizing where should we put our focus. I think the House is safe. We're gonna get majorities in the House, like enough to be able to do stuff. There's granted Republican president, not much we can do anyway. But it would mainly be like having Congress to like block nominations, and start investigating some corruption, which is good, and also stop like future election rigging, which is good.
No, these are both good things. So I guess just to kind of give people an outline of what we're doing today, I want to, at least at first, kind of see the state of play, where we're at. Then I want to talk about which areas need our focus, need our help, and if there's any areas we should just write off as like, we are probably not going to get this one, right? And then once we identify where we should focus, what should we do, right? What is the best course of action to get where we want to get, which is, again, as many victories as we can, as many W's on the board as we possibly can. So the House, pretty much safe. Both of you agree about 220 minimum. We're probably going to get more, but that seems solid. Do we have a consensus here?
Yeah, I would agree. And then the big worry for the House is 2028 because the map is really favorable to Republicans, and we're only kind of winning because of our big top line. So, but that's a problem down the line. I guess we're kind of not thinking about that right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, you got to fight the battle that's in front of you to a certain extent. I get some long-term worries and some long-term planning, but I think that was, again, we won't go back to this too much. There's a couple things I want to talk about, but the primaries were to get as moderate of candidate as we can so that they can win in future cycles like 28, 2030, 2030.
Thankfully, we saved Wisconsin.
Hell yeah, we did. Together.
Everybody I know was like, they were pretending like it was already a foregone conclusion. Like it was.
Absolutely.
So, and the big thing about that was that there were a bunch of down ballot races. One of them was a House race that if Hong had won, I actually think that Democrats probably would have lost that flip opportunity. And so now I think they're more likely to get it.
Sounds good. What do you think about the Senate? Let's go into the Senate now. What seats are realistically in play?
So when it comes to the Senate, Democrats actually have a pretty flexible map this year. Initially going into 2026, it was looking kind of rough because their only opportunities were like Maine and North Carolina. But since Trump was so bad, the map kind of broadened. And so we're looking at potentially like at the maximum, it's going to be like 8 or 9 seats gained. And then that like the minimum I think at the literal minimum, it would be like 1 seat. But I think what's most likely is probably going to be somewhere from 2 to 4 seats. So if we're looking at some of the states that have been brought back into play, I would look at Ohio, Texas, and Alaska, and Iowa. Those are the 4, and I guess you can also add Nebraska in there with Dan Osborne. Those are kind of like the 5 states where those were like safe red, and then like they were brought into like theoretical possibilities for Democrats to flip.
So I keep hearing about North Carolina, right? People keep
North Carolina is likely D. Roy Cooper is gonna just trounce that. It's not even gonna be close.
Okay, you think that Roy Cooper just kind of got this one in the bag?
Yeah, every single poll that comes out, he's been leading by like 8 to like 11 points, and it's like not even. If Roy Cooper loses, like I don't know, I think the universe might explode or something. Like it's genuinely like it's really not even conceivable for him to lose that race.
And will it be a if he wins? Is it a flip?
Yes, it is a flip. It's basically a guaranteed flip. North Carolina.
Okay, so when you say that's our minimum, North Carolina is the one you're looking at.
Yes,
he's solid.
Yes.
He's got what it takes. The polls are good, and you predict.
Yes, I have it as likely Democrat. So
a blowout. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. No, I trust your judgment here. Again, like I said, I keep hearing about Roy Cooper and how well he's doing, but national attention really hasn't gotten paid to this race. Why is Roy Cooper doing so well?
So Roy Cooper is doing well. One, he's kind of like a legend in the in North Carolina. So in 2008 he was running for attorney general, and he got like over 60% of the vote. And even though that was like Obama only won by like 1%, so he's like kind of like in 2012 he ran for re-election and was unopposed for a statewide office, which is kind of crazy. So he's a very, very strong electorally. In 2016, he ousted the incumbent Republican governor who had won by over 10% in the previous election cycle. And then in 2020, I think he outperformed Biden by like 7 or 8%. So when it comes to Roy Cooper, he's just very strong. He's very well known. He's like kind of an icon in the state. He's very well funded. and his opponent is kind of unknown and very not well funded. Kind of everybody's kind of the Republicans are kind of triaging this race because they know it's like definitely not where they should be spending their money at. It's like it's like if they have extra money, they'll send it to him. So I think it's like, is it Michael Watley? Yeah. So he's kind of like nobody really knows who he is, and he's just kind of like a generic like MAGA Republican. So he's not really like super appealing.
You know what? I have an idea. Alice, do you have the ability to stream stuff? Right? Like could you stream like a notepad or something, or should I do this? Hold on.
Yeah, I totally can.
Yeah. I want to make a tier list for our Senate seats, right? Like
This would be fun.
You know what I mean? Like
these
are the strongest seats we got, and these are the weakest, right? Like of all the pickups, right? Or the, I guess, swing states, if you will.
Yeah.
Going in.
That's a good idea. Actually,
as I understand it,
people do that before.
As I understand it, we got North Carolina, we got Maine, we got Alaska, we got Ohio, we got Iowa, we got Michigan. What else?
Nebraska is up there potentially.
Okay.
Did you say Texas?
Oh, Texas! Can't forget Texas. Fair enough.
Really quick, do we want a like a Google Doc or like a Google Sheets, like a spreadsheet?
Either one, whatever you think is best for the plan here. Look, we're missing Erudite. She's I don't know if she'll make it today, unfortunately. So we're just triaging a little bit ourselves, but we'll get it done. So out of all those states I just listed, do we agree North Carolina's probably at the top of the list?
Yeah, of the flips, it's easily. I actually think that like Roy Cooper and John Ossoff are like basically tied in terms of the probability to win. Like they're basically like they're both safe.
Okay. So let's make a list of these are the Senate seats in play, right? The ones that we are paying attention to and care about. So I think we can again, North Carolina, Nebraska, Iowa, Texas. Well, I'll give you a second to get to them. Okay. Is there any way you can make it bigger so we can see?
Bigger at like zoom in?
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, a little bit bigger.
Cool. Yeah, I'm like on my laptop downstairs. So,
a little bit bigger.
When they set up, I have 2 webcams. So my upstairs one, I have 2 monitors.
Oh.
I chose downstairs today.
Fair enough. Can we make it a little bigger?
Food? Make it wider too.
Can you guys read that?
Oh, I'm just looking at the stream. It's just a little blurry. It's not really even small. It's just like, I think it's the resolution.
I don't know why that is. It might just be. I don't have Nitro, and I'm working on a laptop. So
wait, actually, I have a great idea. You should go to yapms.com and you can do a map. You can just look at a map.
Oh, sure.
Okay. yapms.com.
Yep, and then you go to Senate 2026, and then it's on the States tab, and then we can fill out our race like that. That's what I use to make my own personal thing.
Okay, so let's focus on. Is there a way to like reduce it to just the ones we want to talk about?
Yeah, I can just tell you which ones to fill in. So, or ones to like kind of fill in, say that they're safe.
So let's just do Aidan's overview, and then we'll talk about each one. Okay.
Or Aidan, would you be able to stream this? Would that like make more sense?
Actually, yeah, I can.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to figure out this website. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
I have other stuff I'll definitely be streaming later.
Gang, this is tech time with Wick. Okay.
And one thing is, after we talk about the House and the Senate, I really want to talk about state legislatures because I've been reading a lot of books and have some exciting stuff.
All right. Does it look good on the stream?
Sure. So let's start with North Carolina. We've covered that. We're marking it safe blue, pretty much.
Likely blue.
Likely blue. Roy Cooper is a well-known name. The opponent, pretty much unknown. And Roy Cooper's well-funded, well-liked. Every poll I see has him doing very well. We expect that to be the case. What's our next? And you said Georgia was was kind of tied. John Ossoff there's kind of tied in that one.
Yeah, with North Carolina, because John Ossoff and Rick Cooper are both very strong, and they're both very likely to win the race.
Fair enough. Okay, so we got those a lock. Georgia's a hold, but North Carolina would be a flip, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we got so far +1 Dem. Okay, where is kind of the next tier of seats?
So that's probably so those would be the lean D seats, and one of them is a hold, and one of them is a flip. The flip is Maine, and the hold is Michigan.
Troy Jackson is our guy in Maine after the
Plattner.
Yeah, after the Plattner.
I feel so good about that race after Plattner dropped out. I was really dooming hard on that one.
Fair enough.
I'm so glad.
What's Troy? So with Maine, and I'll just give you my worry here. Susan Collins has a history in Maine of overperforming her polls. She's been down in the polls by double digits before and come back to a W. Is that likely to be replicated in this cycle? Why or why not?
So there's a potential for an overperformance, but definitely not like what happened in 2020. Because one, there's been an increase in polarization. In 2020, she was more popular. There was less, even though it was still the Trump era. There was no January 6th at the time of the election. There was none of that stuff. It was more just like Trump being Trump, and everybody hated him because of COVID and stuff. And another thing is that people overestimate Collins' victory in 2020 because Maine has a ranked choice voting system that only triggers if the leading candidate gets under 50%. And technically, she got like just over 50%. And the second place person, Sarah Gideon, was at like 42, but there was a third party candidate. So if you actually do the ranked choice vote calculations, she only ends up winning by like 3% in 2020. So it's it was a much closer race than it kind of looks from like a bird's eye view if you just look at the map. So that's why I think she's extra vulnerable this year. This year is also a midterm. There's not going to be a bunch of Trump voters coming out. Maine in presidential cycles is not safe Democratic. It's like a kind of a likely Democratic state. Biden won by around 6 or 7 points. I fucking hate that, but yes, 6 or 7 points.
Okay, so that does make me feel a little bit better. I didn't know about the ranked choice thing, right?
Yes. So in Maine, I will say Troy Jackson, at least when it comes to his electoral record, is very, very, very impressive. He used to represent a state senate district in Aroostook County. I think that's how you say it. That's probably wrong though. Which is the very northern, like tippy top part of Maine right here, and that area is very red. It's very red, and he won that in 2020. He won that seat in 2020. So he has a very impressive record when it comes to overperforming down ballot Democrats. Now, is that going to continue like at the same degree? Obviously not, but it's definitely like a good sign for him for his electoral strength.
Where's he looking at after, like with the polls currently? I haven't.
He's narrowly ahead.
He's really narrowly ahead. It's pretty
narrowly
far ahead.
No, narrowly.
Narrowly. Okay. Fair enough. We still have time there. How much do you think the Plattner debacle is going to affect this, if at all, in the general? Do you think?
I don't think it's going to affect it that much. I think there's a lot of Republican copas going on in a lot of races where they see a Democrat that they really want to run against, and then that Democrat doesn't win, and so they're trying to desperately tie them to that bad candidate. And the problem is, the political associations, it doesn't really work at that like second order level. Like if you had a first order thing, like for example, Abdul Al-Sayed and Hassan Piker, there's like a first order example where them being with each other, being next to each other, there's clear an association that is prominent. But when you do this like second order thing where it's like, okay, Troy Jackson supported Plattner in the past, but like he kind of didn't really do anything with him after that. It's just it's not very intuitive for voters. Nobody's really going to care. I doubt it. And that's why I think, did you see the story? There was it was from the Collins campaign was kind of panicking after Plattner was ousted because they really wanted to run against him because, I mean, they had Oppo that they didn't even need to release. They had like full artillery armed and ready, and then the guy just disappeared and they don't have any ammunition left. So
they got all ready for the dance and they got stood up, They were all gussied up. They had their little corsage, everything, and then didn't show.
Yes, I was a Republican.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, finish.
Really...
No, okay. Aidan, finish up, and then I want to hear Alice's thoughts on Troy Jackson and specifically why he's a good candidate, if you think he's a good candidate, and what do you think, I guess, and we'll wrap up the segment on Maine on how should we proceed messaging-wise with Troy Jackson specifically, but go ahead.
Yeah, so in Maine, I think that Troy Jackson is he's nearly ahead in the polls. I wouldn't really even use the polls mainly. I think that the wave is going to be big enough, and since Maine is already a blue state, I think there's going to be a lot of enthusiasm there, and I don't think there's going to be enough MAGA enthusiasm to even counter that, where it would matter. So that's just my take on it.
No, that's fair. Alice, what are your thoughts on Troy Jackson as a candidate, and do you think that the Graham Plattner stuff will affect it at all? And what is kind of your thoughts on Maine in general? Go ahead.
So there's a few things. First of all, Republicans wasted a lot of their time and money, because campaigns are very involved, on Oppo research they didn't get to use. So it's effectively even though we put in a candidate late, they kind of also had a shorter time budget to adapt as well, because they were wasting all of that time and money into something else, which is kind of funny and embarrassing for them. So they also kind of have a late start to pivot and rebuild from scratch. That is something they really don't like having to do. Second of all, all of Susan Collins' strengths of being moderate and normal and bipartisan come from a time pulled before Trump and MAGA and ICE killing civilians, stuff like that. It's a bad look. People are very pissed at Susan Collins, especially a lot of women, because of appointing Brett Kavanaugh. And even among Graham Plattner supporters, there were several local news outlets and stuff interviewing women who would just sigh and say look, he's an asshole, but I will vote for literally a shoe over Susan Collins. So those people are still solid, guaranteed blue votes, which is good. And I'm looking at strong candidates, and it's why I usually prefer more moderate Dems who can win in swing states. I'm looking for the strongest swimmers. So there's this thing, if you were trying to hire someone for your baseball team, and there's two candidates and they run equally fast, one of them is the famous pro who has all the best gear and can get to first base in 10 seconds. And then the second one is some noob, some scrappy kid, right, in his shoes from home, who can also get to first place in 10 seconds. Which one do you hire? It would be the noob, because if you gave him all the best training, all the best gear,
improve it with the gear. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So someone like Mom Donnie is OMG, it's great, but he could get a lot done as a blue person in a blue state, versus Troy Jackson is a rare example of a progressive who can win in a red area and still get a lot done, and he has a pretty strong record on that. So yeah, I think I feel safe with Troy. I think he's got it.
I hope so. I hope so. I admit it's a little bit of a PTSD around Maine, but I remember we were really excited in 2020 to get rid of Collins, and it did not materialize. And that was a rough one. Okay, I hope you're right that we are in a good enough environment, and also just people in Maine just want to get rid of Collins. I hope that ends up being true. I was concerned about Troy Jackson's connections to Plattner, in that he campaigned with him. But if you guys are saying that that's not really sticking up there, then good, right? I think that's a good thing. Any other thoughts on Maine overall? What should we, if anything, as influencers, when we're talking about Maine, right? If we wanted to kind of help, first of all, is this something we should dedicate time, resources to? No?
I have very strong, weird opinions on this, so I'll be able to explain at the end.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess I would say the race I have it as lean Democrat. It's probably 60% chance, I'd say. So it's not the most secure race, and I'd also say that in smaller states like Maine, it might actually be more. You might actually get more bang for your buck, doing stuff for them, because you can make the proportion of the impact you have is going to be greater because there's less people.
Fair enough. What do you Alice? You said you disagreed with that. Why?
Oh, I like the same principle of get the best bang for your buck. And I think to do that, we should not be focusing on Senate states, especially the ones, Senate races, federal Senate races, especially the ones that the far left are trying to stake ideological battles on, because that vibe tends to, I saw someone put it, scare the hose, and makes it kind of harder. The more we kind of let that denationalize, and just let normie people just have normie opinions about Trump and the environment as is, I think we kind of coast there. Like, I think there are better places where we need active uplifting and awareness. With Troy Jackson, it could get like a little controversial and stuff, or they'll try to take him down if he gets too much attention with the attack ads or whatever. Like, I'm trying to kind of shut the fuck up and let him just code as normal and be normal.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree that we do need we need more normal people in Maine, apparently.
What's going on up in Maine? I don't know. It's
they're putting some in the lobsters.
Yeah, the oysters are. It's like Lovecraftian horror, right, from the deep sea or something. I don't know what's going on up there. Fair enough. We've talked about so far North Carolina, Georgia. Then we have Maine, and what else?
So Michigan was the other lean DC.
Okay, let's talk. Michigan's gonna be a Michigan. I got a lot of thoughts on Michigan, but first, same thing. You say it's lean D. What's your kind of reasoning here? The polls, honestly, I don't know, man. I saw an internal poll they released about the national race, and El Sayed was up, good. But then Fox News released a poll as well, showing El Sayed was down by a lot. What's your read on all this? Go ahead.
So right now, I do think that El Sayed is done right now, and I do think that number will tick up. And the reason is because the bidder primary just ended. There's a lot of like people who are concerned, and I guess this lean D is kind of like factoring in like he chooses the correct answer to the Hassan Piker question and gets rid of him by the time the election comes. I always just say like within like a month of the election, I would say is like fine. Because if he does that and he actively condemns like in specific terms like what he is condemning, I think voters like that, because what moderate voters want to see is they obviously know that Republicans call every Democrat a socialist. Okay, that they're not that stupid. They're able to watch ads and they see that they call Obama that, they call Bill Clinton that, they call everyone that. What they want is for the Democrat to be able to have a hard line and basically say, hey, this is what I'm not going to do. And so this is the problem with a lot of like the kind of the no enemies to the left kind of mindset, which is because when you're unable to condemn things that are bad on your side, moderates look at that and they go, okay, well, you're probably not going to oppose this once you're in office, so I'm just going to treat you like if you were just the same as them. And if candidates are able to stake that out and say, okay, these people are, I am telling you, I hate these people, or no, you don't have to say I hate, but like, this is not something I support, I disavow it, I condemn it completely, then moderate voters are willing to say, okay, this person at least seems like he has some ground to stand on. This is the same thing that happened with the defund the police thing, where candidates were certain candidates were unable to say like, no, I just don't agree with this. This is stupid and wrong. And that would help them a lot more if they did that. So,
do you think his answers so far has been enough? He has said, and
no. The answer is no.
Okay,
short answer.
But
is
just
no.
to let the audience know, right? He has been confronted with Hassan Piker's take on 9/11 specifically, and El Sayed did respond that he thought that was dumb. You don't think that's strong enough?
Well, no. So the problem is that he didn't condemn he didn't condemn the Hassan Piker, like he didn't condemn Hassan. He said even Hassan thinks that's stupid. So he's still kind of clinging to, or not clinging, but he's still kind of letting Hassan linger there. But he's just kind of like dismissing the concern. And the problem is that Hassan has like this endless litany of things that people can attack El Sayed for. So the thing that El Sayed needs to do is he needs to specifically distance and denounce Hassan himself. It's not just like, oh, I think even he acknowledges that this thing was stupid and wrong. It's like a very weak, kind of tepid, like, oh, like this doesn't. He's basically telling the voters like, this doesn't matter. Don't care about this. And the problem is that voters really don't like that. Voters don't like being told what to care about.
Yeah, I want to get Alice's thoughts on this before we get too far into the weeds here, and I don't want to focus all of our attention today on it, but it does bear talking about, like, what should El Sayed do when it comes to his associations and the attacks against him. I think that's strategy, and it's pertinent to discuss. But I want to catch up Alice here and get her thoughts on, one, the polling situation. Where do you think El Sayed is right now? Is he behind? Is he above? Is he doing better than the poll suggests? Is he doing worse? What do you expect? And also, what are your thoughts on why? Go ahead.
Sure. So right now, according to all the polls I've seen, especially factoring like the pattern of things like the Hong race and stuff, and even Maine, I see some red flags. I think he is a little behind. I think he's kind of running into a problem a bit that even Graham Plattner ran into, but got overshadowed by the other news of a lot of that progressive, very online support with lots of money and lots of attention cares more about winning a primary against a liberal woman and then is kind of bored and disinterested in the general. So that's kind of like staking your whole thing on a group of people who will show up for you early and you'll think they're going to show up for you later and then they're not showing up for you later. And then it's kind of toxic, but if you disavow them, then they can become anti-fans. So it's kind of bad strategy. There is a way out of this, which we've seen with James Tallarico. He was criticized as taking a campaign strategy where he was kind of ignoring and neglecting and alienated a lot of black voters. And so what he did is he specifically went out of his way to do a bunch of town halls and get roasted and like take it to his face and be a good sport about it. And like he's actually meeting with those groups and those voters. And his campaign did kind of stall out and was behind messaging. And now it's tipping in his favor again. What Aidan needs to do, and it's like me just saying the problem again and again, isn't going to help because it's very obvious and it's very black and white. He needs to disavow like Hassan Piker and like that group. And he needs to do a lot of positive work, building connections and gaining endorsements from the black community, the Jewish community, and like women's groups in that race. If he does not do that, he's just going to lose unless the blue wave is big enough to carry him and he gets lucky. And until I see him do that work, I'm just not like talking about that race.
So,
and I think it's on his supporters to lift him or figure that out.
Fair enough. When it comes to doing that work, so again, Tallarico, I saw the same town halls you did. He had a problem that a lot of black voters were sore about the primary and the disrespect that they felt that Tallarico's campaign surrogates and Tallarico himself showed them. So, yes, I did see him go out and talk to the black community, go and have town halls and have people come up and confront him. And I think he did a masterful job at answering a lot of their concerns. I was worried for a minute about him, but I think that he's like, because there's always this temptation, right? To say, I've done nothing wrong. You guys are all stupid, right? Come at me, bro. And I think that would have been the exact wrong thing to, like the streamer brain. Like, that's what I would do, right? Like, this is why I'm not running for office. Like, if someone accuses me of, like, you don't respect these type of people, I'm like, no, fuck you. Yes, I do, right? And I'd have an argument about it. That would be the wrong thing to do, right? And so I understand it. Like, the level of humility that takes, the level of strategy that takes to be recognized, okay, this isn't the right move. We need to appeal to these voters. We need to win these voters. We need to go out there and do these town halls. I think that was excellent. I'm going to be real with you guys. I don't know if Al-Said has that in him. From everything I've seen and all the way he engages with people, and he's very combative. He's very streamer-brained in that way. And again, like, that's something I would do, but it would be the wrong move, right? So I don't know if he has it in him. How can we is there a way that we could convince him to do these things? So the groups you mentioned were, just real quick, the groups you mentioned, Alice, were black voters, and I've heard some black voters say that they're uncommitted, right? Like, is it kind of a joke thing, type of thing?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure how much of that is actually a joke. You know what I mean? Jewish voters, women's groups. Those were the three, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry for interrupting you, Aidan. What were you trying to say? Like, do we think he has that in him? Will he do that? And how can we convince him to if he's not?
So I think that this is actually, when it comes to, like, if we need the Democratic candidate to do something, this is probably the area where influencers probably have the biggest influence, because like to pressure him to denounce Hassan and to pressure him to reach out to these groups, by saying this on social media over and over and over again and getting a bunch of people to say it will eventually pressure him into doing it. And I think that a lot of the reason he's like not really doing this is because he's not just like super cocky and overconfident, but he also has a bunch of staffers that are like kind of reinforcing that he's right and everything. So I think that online pressure, particularly from influencers towards Al-Sayed, I think it is a good idea, and it eventually, like, with enough of it, like, the more that happens, the better. And with enough pressure, I think we could get him to make some of these decisions.
Is there a time limit on this? Like, I think that I tend to agree with you. Here's what I think will happen. It will depend on the next set of polls. If the next set of reputable pollsters come out and it shows that he's still down in the general, then what will happen is he will probably have much more of a chance of going that route, where he goes and he does a tour, and he does like a unity tour where he goes out and he specifically appeals to those groups, does a town hall, takes it on the chin. The things we're asking for him, he mostly does, right? I can see that world happening. I see another world where the poll results come out and he's either tied or a little bit ahead, and he decides not to go that route, because why would he? He's winning, right? And I worry about that route, right? I think that might be the kind of overconfidence that will get you killed in the general election. When it comes to like politically, I think that you will think you are more ahead than you are, and the groups that you fail to reach out to will simply stay home, and that's going to be a problem. What do you guys think of my analysis there? Do you think I'm pretty spot on? What's your thoughts, Alice? I'm really curious.
I think it shouldn't even require all of us spending our time and effort telling him to course correct. As an adult, as a smart adult with a campaign staff around him, he should know better by now. He should have already surrounded himself, he should know what the right call is. If he can't make that decision, I think he kind of deserves to lose.
Yeah, but
if
hold on,
he
just real quick.
course corrects, I will reward that with a positive attention.
Yeah,
That's
but just on that, like, I don't know if we can assume that he knows the right move, right? I don't know if we can actually assume that.
I think we
Go ahead.
I think we should pressure him. I think we should keep pressuring him. And even if the polls are like kind of tied, I think it can still have an effect, especially if it's like very close and like in the governor race, the Democrat is like pulling ahead. Like if there's clearly a difference there, then they can still have weight to kind of be like, hey buddy, you're falling behind. You need to kind of do this thing. So I think that there is a time limit. I think he has a little bit more time, probably around to the end of September. I would say he has. So I would say, and after that, it's like, okay, what the fuck is he doing? But let's just pray. But
so as long as he starts sometime within September, you think he's got a shot?
Yes.
Okay, now that seems reasonable, right? What would you say to the people who say like, because when we talk about messaging, there's a lot of people who have pointed to the criticisms of his connection with Hassan Piker and just his connection with other groups, supposedly, and said that's Islamophobia, right? Do we think that kind of defense will work in the general election? Why or why not? Does it hit well? And is it actually Islamophobia? I'm really curious your thoughts.
So for the first question, like, does it not matter? The answer is, unfortunately, fortunately, even if it is Islamophobic, and when it comes from the Republicans, it definitely is. Unfortunately, a lot of voters, especially in places like Michigan, are Islamophobic. I don't know if people saw, but there was that one congressional Republican primary in Michigan where the candidate who dropped out and had like a white-sounding name won against the Trump-endorsed candidate named Amir Hassan because of the last name. Okay, people in these states are. I mean, there's going to be a lot of Islamophobia there, and that's not right. That's not good. But we are saying that like it's not a good look when you are the Muslim candidate trying to make yourself like seem like the pro-American patriot, and then you're going around campaigning with the guy who hates America and wants it to fall and collapse and everything. So it's just not like he just doesn't need to like be adding all that extra like weight onto what's already going to be hard anyway.
What do you think, Alice?
I think we can all agree that Islamophobia is bad, and I condemn it. Nonetheless, the unfair reality is he is now facing an Islamophobic race. Is there any extent to which he is like leaning into the negative perceptions that voters would otherwise irrationally hold about him? If they're rational beliefs, fuck them. Hassan Piker has a framed picture of the towers burning on 9/11 behind him on his stream. And that's who Abdul al-Sayed has refused to dissociate from. And that specific action-based thing, like that is what he bears responsibility for. And that's not about his background at all. Like that's just the facts of the actual choices he's making. If they want to see like what real Islamophobia is going to look like, Republicans are going to show them. And I'm really worried these lefties are not aware. And they keep misusing a lot of this language, just to try and like troll liberals, like concerned troll liberals, and they're avoiding confronting the very real problem that there is unfortunate ammunition for.
I think that Aidan, I think it was you who said this, Aidan. I'm pretty sure that the staffers he has seem to be kind of gassing him up a little bit, right?
Yes.
In ways that we would consider probably unwise. Is that a fair
Yes,
framing
100%,
of your
100%.
statement?
Yes, I would agree 100%.
Oh, Alice, you're
A note about that. Oh yeah, I believe like in terms of his support, and even maybe the people working on his campaign, isn't it like isn't he a fight agency sponsored candidate? It's like the same kinds of people, right? And towards the end of Graham Plattner's campaign, his numbers were Graham Plattner's numbers were starting to stall out. His fundraising was starting to stall out, and his messaging was getting more kind of like messiah coded. And it seemed like he was also being gassed up and believed he could run for president. And I'm worried if that same kind of like ego fluffing is now moving to Syed because
so I'm seeing,
bad
and
choices.
someone double check this for me, but Fight Agency is working with El Sayed.
Or it might not be that org specifically, but it was like the same kinds of people, same kinds of fans online too.
Yeah. I know he's acknowledged and defended the firm's work for his campaign. So, at least at some point, they were connected. I don't know how strong that connection is or these things, but yes, I think that if he has those kinds of people in his orbit that are in advisory roles, right? Because look, every campaign has a whole bunch of moving parts. Some people have much more influence within the campaign than others. And yes, if he is surrounded by people who are trying to kind of like do the lefty thing where like, no, you don't need to address any of these things. You're just correct. You need to go out and double down. You should show them how strong you are and how manly and how you will never back down, all these things. Yeah, it's not going to work. He's going to lose.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know the internal workings of his campaign enough to make an honest assessment on that. I think that, again, every day that goes by where he does not do these things that we've talked about today, which I think are very obvious things, right? These aren't.
Yeah, I would agree too.
If we, right, are sitting here, right, as kind of amateur to professional, like minor people, right? If we're saying things like this and we can see things like this, he should too, and his campaign should too. It's just the most obvious thing in the world that if you are running in a state where you're worried about Islamophobia that will hurt you and you want to win, you take steps to distance yourself from people who want to destroy America. That seems like an obvious thing to do, right? The fact that he hasn't with Hassan worries me. It makes me wonder, like, why not? Like, that's the question I have. Why hasn't he yet? Is there? Go ahead.
It's besides being like a Muslim candidate, like this is nothing like beyond that. Like this is a net negative for like any campaign, and we just saw this happen to Hong, and even Hong before the election was saying on those meetings like, "Hey, if I win, I'm gonna like change out a lot of my staff and like pivot and do what needs to be done." Like so, we saw this, right? It's not about him specifically. It's like this is a bad look for literally any candidate, and we're seeing that in the numbers. And so that's the problem. Like it is a real problem. There's precedent.
Yeah,
I don't know why
I think we got to acknowledge it hits harder, right? Like I don't like it either. I don't think it's good that it hits
I think
harder.
I think it does hit harder, unfortunately.
But it does.
Even if it hits as hard as it hits for anyone else in general, it's still a significant enough problem that it needs to be addressed.
Oh yeah, I would agree as well.
Yeah. Also, the fact that he's not out there trying to do the Tallarico thing of winning back the voters that he lost in the primary, he won it by less than a percentage point, right? He needs to spend some time unifying. What steps has he taken to do this? I know that I saw a picture of him embracing Haley Stevens, right? Who's been a great sport about all this. I know McMorrow has been a great sport as well and has specifically endorsed him several times. What is he doing? What is his campaign doing right now to unify the Democratic Party in Michigan?
So he hasn't been doing much. Like he hasn't he's obviously put out the things like you have a welcome place in our campaign or let's unify and stuff. He's said the words, but he hasn't taken any substantive actions that are showing like, hey, I'm going to deprioritize my ideological base in favor of coalition building. He has not done anything to that note as of yet. So that is the worry.
Well, that's not again. The primary was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He doesn't have
And that's the
time
red
as a
flag.
resource, and I just wonder what he's doing. I can see needing like a week to transition, to refocus, to get your messaging straight. All these
But
things.
there's no story about a shakeup. Like he just keeps doing the same thing.
Yeah. And again, maybe he'll surprise us. Maybe tomorrow he'll come out and he'll announce that he's going on a Unity tour. I believe Crowley did that. Almost
Yeah.
as soon as he won.
Great sport, team player. That's what to do.
He's like, the next day they had brunch together and they took pictures of it, and then they started saying, we're going to unify around this, right? Around, again, Francisca Hong, to her credit, great team player as well. And he's like, okay, we still have our differences, but let's get the troops in line. Let's go. Yeah, I just don't see that with El Sayed, and I worry. I do worry about it, and I don't know what else to do but continue to point out the obvious and say, hey, buddy, we need you to win this state. It's really close. Yeah. You need to do these things to, even if you are winning by a little, we want you to win by a lot, okay? We want it to be foolproof, right? So when whatever fucky-wucky shit Trump tries in the midterms, right, we can make it, quote-unquote, too big to rig, right? So what are you doing, man? Get off your ass. Get it into gear. Do what you need to do. That's my advice to Mr. El Sayed if he were to listen. I hope he does. I do want him to win. We want this seat. This seat would be amazing. Okay. Anything 100%. Else on Michigan specifically on the Senate side of things?
Just like last thing is just like, yes, the influencer, like the reason why big part of the reason why he's so confident in his strategy is, well, one, he's like a very egotistical person. He's very braggadocious. He's kind of like that. But also, the second thing is, like, since he's surrounded by all these staffers, he's not really seeing a lot of what we're saying. And we need to amplify this messaging so that like he sees it more and more and more. And I know the individual impact we all make is not going to be very much, but it's gonna, every single little bit matters. That's my last take on that.
Anything else from you, Miss Alice?
Yeah, I think was with Tallarico. He showed up to the town halls and made sure like that everyone knew that they were heard by him, and he took it like a good sport. And he didn't argue, and even at town hall, like he made very clear, like, stop saying mean things about Jasmine Crockett online to his fans. He was showing up at that town hall and it was meant to be the first of many. And also he was talking with like black groups in Texas who had a very specific material demand, which was, I believe, $250 million to black get out the vote operations, which is very concrete. That means jobs in black communities that frankly benefit him also. Like that's a win-win. That's a serious negotiation of like earn my vote, concrete, mutually beneficial. And I've seen other people campaign for El Sayed, but there's a lot of hesitation, and there's a very clear demand, like disavow Hassan Piker, and then do outreach with these specific groups. And I just have not seen that, and that seems so easy because that's not even like a big monetary request. It's just disavow one streamer. The moment he does that, and it's a problem that the news story shifts to like this passive. How valid do the critiques of his associations align with Islamophobic stereotypes? Is bad. It should be an active news story set by him about the work he's doing to reach these other communities, like actively disprove this.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Mundangerous wants to come on for a moment, and is that okay with you guys, just to talk about El Sayed for a moment? He asked, so I figured, you know what, why not? Kyla, unfortunately, I don't know I hope she gets here, but who knows? Let me bring on Mundangerous and see. You're live. Muted on your end, sir.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, so what did you have for us?
So I want to say I'm coming to terms with El Sayed myself, and I'm kind of coming around on a lot of what you guys have concluded in that I think he probably has an outsized view of his positioning here. I guess my challenge with that is Alice, you said something earlier. You said if he doesn't do these things, like if he doesn't do the work, he deserves to lose. And therefore, you don't want to engage in boosting him until that's done. I agree with you on like the moral justice of the universe perspective. Like he should lose. But are you willing to give up the 51st seat in order to have that play out? Or as influencers, should we not be pushing him much more aggressive, pushing him to condemn it, but then also pushing him forward because he's a winnable seat?
Sure. So that gets into a really good topic of like moral and ethical responsibility that I think we fall for a lot. And a lot of like the lefties especially, it's very toxic. And a lot of like toxic people in any capacity in life try to abuse that constantly. They'll be like, well, it's a good thing. And then kind of passively pressure you to make it your job and your duty. So that I agree, like, yeah, we should not give that up. That's his job to do. That's not necessarily my job to do. I'm still voting about who, and I'm going to dedicate like all of my time and like effort into boosting Democrats. But that is one task where I would have to win it in spite of him and not because of him. If he does that, that is his job and his community's job who like uplifted him and pushed him to win. That is their homework assignment.
I'll be stronger than Alice maybe here. If he does not do this by September, I don't think we should help because we have, again, our resources, our time, our money, our attention, our energy, none of these are limitless. We have a finite amount of all these things that we have to spend. So, again, part of what I'm doing tonight is to determine where should we spend those finite resources. And if El Sayed does these things, I'm happy to give him some of my time, some of my energy, some of all these things. Because he's a layup,
behind right?
The wave.
If he does that, but if he does that, he's
not a layup. He's not. It's still gonna be tough even if he does it. But if he does it, it's gonna show that he's serious and that he has a much better shot.
Yes.
So it's still gonna be competitive either way.
And so if he doesn't, then I have other races I need to win. Okay. I got Texas. I got Ohio. I got Iowa.
Alaska.
Right? Alaska, right?
Oh, yeah,
I got
Alaska.
other places I need to spend my time and energy. And if he's not willing to do what it takes to win, okay, God bless him. I hope he wins, but it won't be with my coin. It won't be with my energy. Yeah, that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts on that response there?
I mean, that makes sense to me. I guess the question then is to Aidan, right? Is like, are there enough winnable seats out there where if you redirect your efforts, we redirect our efforts, right, to other races, that we can win around him? And I suspect, well, hey, I suspect there are, because we were already kind of talking about this with Plattner, right? And sort of coming around to the fact that maybe Plattner's not the guy. Now Maine is back in play, even favorable. So maybe that, the punting Plattner is now punting El Sayed, fine. But like that to me is just the question. Like it's just the pure math of tonight, and I'm a run, so I'll listen to the rest of it. But like Aidan, yeah, are there enough seats where you can punt one race that's winnable for a less likely race where you maybe can lend support?
So strictly speaking, yes. It makes it much harder though. And I would say that when we're talking about like redirecting our focus, we're not really saying, because I think that the scenario you're laying out kind of like assumes, like, it doesn't really assume infinite resources, but like there's no way where we can dedicate like a bunch of energy to like Texas and Ohio and Michigan and Alaska. So what would end up happening is if he did condemn Hassan and do all these things, we would condemn, or we would put forth a significant effort into Michigan, but that effort in Michigan probably couldn't be used elsewhere. And what I'm saying is, if he doesn't do these things, okay, let's just take the Michigan effort and put it somewhere else instead, is basically what I'm saying. So it's not really about, like, we're not giving up Michigan. We can only prioritize, like, maybe, like, 1 or 2 or 3 seats. And so we're just choosing to prioritize the other ones. That doesn't necessarily mean we are giving up, but we have finite resources in that matter, basically.
Yeah, understood. I mean, yeah, sure, not giving up, but like you're leaving it to a higher risk, right? What could be a lower risk seat is now going to be a higher risk seat. You're going to try and reduce our risk somewhere else.
Well, we're not leaving it up to a higher risk. The people who push from the primary did that, right? It's a moral responsibility. It's a trap. They get you on this all the time, and it's very subtle. But we all have to realize we've all fallen for it. We have to stop falling for it.
Well, here's the counter argument to that is that in the scenario where we do go in on Michigan, that is effort that we're not putting in on Texas and Alaska. You would agree for that? So either way, we're prioritizing some things and deprioritizing other things. So it's not really we're not really leaving anything up to chance. We're just choosing which ones.
Go on you. Which would you rather Which would you rather support, Talarico or El Sayed, if you had to choose? And to be clear, we kind of do, because again, maybe if you're fucking rich like Destiny or Hassan, you could just throw money at these people. I don't have that kind of resources, right? So if I'm going to give a little of if I'm going to go out and canvas, right? I can't go, I have a job, right? I do this for a living. I could take a week off to canvas. Do I do it in Texas or do I do it in Michigan?
Totally. Yeah. No. And I would, I mean, apropos of nothing, I'd rather win Texas and Alaska than Michigan. Personally, like because I just like the candidates better. But I guess the flip side of this is there's sort of the other thing that influencers can do that's maybe even more impactful than influencing voters is influencing the campaign, right?
That's what I was saying earlier.
Yeah. And so should we be putting our effort into El Sayed's campaign, making the positive decision to distance himself from, the anti 9/11 stuff?
I do think so. Yes.
And then again, like you said, there's a limit, obviously,
sure. Well,
right?
Like,
we say September, fine, but like we got to go all in on getting them to do that.
Just to be clear, I will tweet out to disavow Hassan all day for free. Like for that's nothing to me, right? Like
yeah, sure.
That's gonna happen no matter what, right?
That's worth $8 a month.
But when I talk about like who should I campaign for, again, I got to make choices. So
sure, yeah, no, I understood. Yeah, I totally get that. Cool. And yes, Alice, I heard you mention that the other day. This idea that like, sort of like passively asking for things, right? Oh, I'd sure love for that to happen. And it's like it's been eating at the back of my brain. So I very much appreciate that framing. I am gonna go. I appreciate this, everybody. Thanks for the time, Wick. Good work.
No problem.
Have a great day, man.
Can I follow up on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So it's this idea, right? So there are people, and their agenda specifically is to just have El Sayed win. And also, if they can, as a bonus, they also like this, they want a lot of Democrats to lose. And they will pose to you the hypothetical. Is it better for you to put effort into have El Sayed win or not and he loses? And in that vacuum, yes, it's better for him to win. But it's a little like, okay, that's generally on the side of your goals, so you should do that. Right? But they are purposely omitting the macro, which is I have like 10 points worth of energy to do. And my goal is to make sure we get Democratic majorities to win that are the most effective. And in that scope, even though it would generally be good or forward facing to like help the El Sayed campaign, that would be so low on the list of priorities, it is not worth me allocating points to. Meanwhile, even though it would be in support of my goals, I think the people whose goals solely are to have El Sayed win should be putting all of their points into that. And it's suspicious to me that they're not. They're just trying to make us spend our points as inefficiently as possible and then not talk about other races. That is their job.
Well, they're busy putting points into why Ossoff sucks, right? This is what I see on my timeline, right?
That's right now they're putting points into Larkin.
Well, yes, that too.
Which is also silly.
We can talk. Hold on. Do we want to talk about? No, not yet.
We can't. Well, the polls actually just closed in Florida, so we can check it real quick.
Oh yeah,
I'll give you a check.
One more quick thing. So even if we did put all our time and effort into making El Sayed win, after that they would take credit for all of that effort in making him win and still shit on us. So that's still like a bad look and inefficient, even for our own brand and reputation building.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
it's just not a good use of my time. It's not my top priority. It's generally a good direction. They should do it, not me.
I tend to agree. Now again, if El Sayed were to do as I think he should, and he demonstrates he's serious about beating Mike Rogers, and like I do think it's worth putting in some of my energy points into that then, because Michigan is going to be close. I think Michigan is going to be closer than the other swing states that we've talked about so far. I'm looking at the polls.
If he does that, then it becomes more worthwhile and more efficient as well.
Yeah.
Like that is objectively a better use of points.
I'm looking at Larkin versus Moskowitz. Nothing's in yet on my end, so we'll keep.
I can update you when it happens. Florida tends to count votes very fast, though, so I'll let you know when it happens.
Thank you for that. I do appreciate it. Okay, I think we've said all we need to say about Michigan's Senate race. The governor's race looks a lot better to me.
Yeah, that one I have as likely Democrat. It's not really going to be close, I don't think. Jocelyn
Yeah.
Benson's really strong.
I think that's likely, as you say. It's not a lock, but it's far more likely. So fair enough. Okay, so we've covered Maine, North Carolina, Georgia, and Michigan. What's next on our list?
So the next would be the toss-up races and the three that I have as toss-ups are Ohio, Texas, and Alaska. So I guess we can start with Ohio.
Go ahead. Give us the rundown on Ohio.
So in Ohio, what's happening right now is the former Senator Sherrod Brown, who is the only Democrat to win a Senate race in Ohio in the 21st century, is running again to get his seat back, that he very narrowly lost in 2024. And keep in mind that in 2024, Kamala Harris lost Ohio by like 15 points or something. And he lost it by like 2. It was very, very close, and he was very strongly outperforming. Now, we have to keep in mind that was during the Trump electorate. So there's a big MAGA surge, especially in these rural areas, Southeast Ohio, kind of the Appalachian area. So in a midterm, chances are much better for Democrats. And Sherrod Brown has been leading in the vast majority of polls that I've seen. I don't think I've seen a single poll where he's actually down.
Yeah, that's just real quick, because I do want to prioritize my money a little bit. $5 from Metalworks. And I know this is taking us back a little bit, but he paid $5, so we'll get through it. Would it be helpful for El Said and other Muslim politicians if they disavowed illiberal Islamic beliefs whenever they pop up in the conversation?
Yes, easily yes. It's just an easy yes.
I agree. Again, you can scream, "That's not fair. Why should they have to do?" They do. I mean,
life isn't fair. I mean, it's very bad that we have to do this, but we do. Like, there's a lot of things that we don't want to do, but we have to do.
So actions beat words, and it's way more effective rather than having these passive theoretical conversations about Islamophobia. If he just did some active campaign events with the Jewish community, he looks good doing that because it's campaigning in general, helps all voters. He's appealing to a community who can also like support him and volunteer for him and donate to him. Like, that's just what he should be doing. It's just a way more effective use than sitting on this.
Fair enough. So back to Ohio. You say it's a toss-up. Again, most of the polls I have seen show the Democratic candidate winning.
So
go ahead.
Yes, the thing about Ohio is that it's Ohio, and that in 2024 the polls also had Sherrod Brown up. So the way I'm thinking it is Ohio, and like there's a history of polls being wrong in favor of the Republicans in Ohio by a lot. In 2022, there were a lot of polls showing Tim Ryan up, especially in the summertime, like it is now. And Tim Ryan narrowly lost that in 2022 against J.D. Vance. But that's why I have it as a toss-up, because it's like this is a Trump plus 15 state. It's going to have to take a lot more to get me to say this is lean Democrat, basically.
Makes sense. What are your thoughts, Alice?
My girlfriend's family grew up in Ohio, and I visit there sometimes. And last year we went to a baseball game. And in like a Major League Baseball stadium, you could like look around and just see a sea of like vaguely potato-shaped white people. And that was sort of it. And as someone who lived in Philly for 5 years and now in Baltimore for like another 1 or 2, it felt weird. It's liminal. These are people who would absolutely fall for every right-wing chud argument about like forced diversity or whatever, because it is far more theoretical. I grew up in Pennsylvania, same kind of thing. We underestimate how red these areas are. My best hope is that they just don't show up and vote this cycle.
I would say that's actually likely. Is that a lot of the MAGA people seem to be like these only presidential cycles. I only vote for Trump kind of thing. That's kind of what helped Sherrod Brown in 2024, was that a lot of them just didn't vote in the Senate race.
And I will say though, having been to Ohio a few times, fewer Trump flags.
Yes,
far fewer.
I think that again, being that this is the midterms, and being that we are living in a national environment of plus like what 8-9D. Toss-up's probably the right call here. I think that it's going to be a coin flip. Now, honestly, Ohio's one of those places where I think we can have a good effect. Like if we wanted to spend time, resources, energy canvassing for the Senate candidate there, that might be a good use of our time. I think it's going to be close, right? It's going to be very close. And I think that if we made a concerted effort, we could flip Ohio. What do you guys think?
I would 100% agree. And in fact, we at Digital Ground Game are doing canvassing in Toledo. We have a canvassing house there. So if you want to canvass in Ohio, please come to our canvassing house and come help us canvass because we're doing things there.
No, you guys called that one right. Well, you agree with me at least. So either we're both right or we're both wrong. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, I think that Sherrod Brown is a good candidate as well, right? Like I think that they hit the right kind of candidate for that state. Does that make sense?
That's overlapped as well with the governor's race, I believe, which is also very high profile, which is Dr. Amy Acton running against Vivek Ramaswamy, who has strong associations and ties to Trump, to being really rich, to being kind of a carpetbagger, and also all the same bigotry, like worse bigotry than Syed has to deal with. Worse bigotry on Ramaswamy for being Indian and being a Hindu, I think.
Yeah.
He's gotten a lot of hate in Ohio. So there could be a general blue tilt because of that.
Yeah. The Groypers have set their sights on him. In the primary, there was this guy called Casey Putsch who tried to beat him. He didn't even get close, but he actually did, like the notable amount of support he did get was actually in a lot of these rural areas. So there's definitely some amount of Indian racism that's going on there. We'll see how much that affected in November. But I will say the Groypers certainly do not like Vivek.
Sure. Six euros from Map the Convo to say, Mr. Wick, could you check the Discord DM of Map the Convo after the show, please? I'll check. We'll see. Boilers are cool. Tier 2 membership. Thank you. Gang, and we'll just take this moment because we're at the halfway mark here. If you enjoy this content, if you're liking these kind of strategy sessions, show me. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you are not subscribed yet. If you want me to repeat this kind of thing, send me money. The more money I get, the more likely I am to do segments like this in the future. So super chat me, throw some Twitch subs my way. Anything like that really helps me out. Really appreciate that. Okay, back to Ohio. What other races are in Ohio down ballot that we're looking at?
So actually, the house that we have in Toledo, we put there because it also overlaps with the congressional race for Marcy Kaptur, who is the longest-serving incumbent representative in the House. She's been there since 1982. So she is a extremely strong incumbent, but they just redistricted her into a Trump plus 11 seat. So she's going to be fighting for it there, but we're going to be there. We're going to be helping her. But she is a strong Democratic incumbent, and we're trying to help her hold that seat against this MAGA candidate trying to oust her. And then there's also obviously the Max Miller district, which is in Ohio, which we are going to have that's actually the district my parents live in. So it's going to be, that's almost like a certain flip. It's like, it's lean or likely, but like that district is Trump plus 11. So that might actually have a effect on the Senate race and the gov race if there's a bunch of negative impact for the Republican there.
Thank you for the Prime sub, Big Chuck 664. Really appreciate you. Alice, any other thoughts on that?
Ohio is like Chud country. It's very gerrymandered. It's so tempting because like on paper, all of it looks super duper close. But it's kind of hard mode and it's easy to underestimate. But if we tip Ohio, which does seem possible, so goes the country. It's like the ultimate swing state.
Well, it was.
MAGA's basically dead, if we get it.
It was from 1960 until 2020. It voted for, I guess, before 2020, so 2016. It voted for the winner in every single election. And then the problem is that it went from battleground to like a very Republican-leaning state, and so it's kind of lost that. But yes, it was the swing state of all swing states for a very long period of time.
It's kind of like the heart of American culture. Like if that's tipping left again, then I'm hopeful for the future.
Oh, well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll put some. I'm glad Digital Ground Game has some has a canvassing house there. I hope they do like a big event there. I would love to come back. And kind of help you guys out. Again, it's a toss-up, but that's where I like these close races.
That's where our effort is best spent. Yeah.
These close races is where that's what we need to tip, right? That's what we need to put our shoulder to the wheel, okay, and kind of push them over the edge there. And again, the candidate's doing everything right that I see. I don't see any controversies. I don't hear anything terrible about the person. It just seems like an easy get, but we'll see, right? What else we got for anything else on Ohio at all from either of you?
I don't think so. Other than the Max Miller race and the Marcy Kaptur race, it's the Senate and the Gov. So that's about it there. The state legislature is horrifyingly gerrymandered for Republicans there, so there's no chance of Democrats.
Well, unfortunate, but we do what we can. Texas. Let's talk about Texas.
All right, so this is the race where I genuinely think that there's some like supernatural shit going on that's like trying to manifest the perfect storm for Democrats there. Because it seems like James Tallarico has done literally everything correct, and the Republican, Ken Paxton, has literally done everything wrong. So it genuinely seems like there's a perfect storm brewing. That said, Texas is Texas, so it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. I don't know if people just saw, but there was a story just like I think it was like today or yesterday about John Cornyn's former staffer joining James Tallarico's campaign, which is really, really, really unprecedented for like a staffer who's like recently a Republican, like who like just was in the campaign like this year earlier for John Cornyn and left and joined Tallarico. That means that the staffers genuinely think that there's like a possibility that Tallarico might win, which from the polls, like it's a toss up. The polls are a complete toss up, and that's basically where I'm putting my foot down on that one.
Fair enough. Alice, what are your thoughts on Texas?
To me, Texas is a test of how little do Republicans actually care? Like, how deep are they just watching Fox News and don't actually care about candidate quality or policies or consequences whatsoever? Because, like, on paper, if you cared about these issues, like, you know, anything, if you held any of the values you claim to, no one should ever vote for Ken Paxton. Like, he's winning on, like, vice signaling, basically. He has nothing going for him. He spent the 4th of July on vacation in the UK with a mistress on the 250th anniversary of America on the 4th of July. Like, which is comically bad. Yeah, so Tallarico should have this, but it's really blackpilling. It's really like doom. Yeah, so I hope that Tallarico can reach out enough to like the Black community in Texas, like, and like get them mobilized because they actually care. But I think there's just so many bad faith actors who are just voting red regardless, and that X number is the number to beat, which is why it's scary.
One of the problems I have with Texas, okay, and maybe I'm a little doom pilled on this. It seems every cycle we have hopefuls come up and are like, Texas is gonna go blue. Who is that young gentleman?
Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah, O'Rourke. A lot of people really put their back into that guy's campaign. I thought he had a real shot.
Well, he did. It was 2%. 2%. It's the closest Senate race in Texas in decades.
Yeah. It's like, even with everything in O'Rourke's favor as well, we didn't cross that finish line, and it's rough.
Well, here's what I'll say to that.
Before you do, $10 for Moon000. If Muslim candidates are expected to disavow illiberal things about their faith because we need to appeal to moderates, will this extend to progressive values that moderates are lukewarm on? If you are a Christian, you should disavow, or if you're a Catholic, I should say, you should disavow the Catholic pedophile scandal if it comes up. If you are a white person and there's a white culture issue, you should disavow that, right? Whatever makes you more electable.
Yeah, if it comes up. Just don't act defensively.
Whatever makes you more electable. That's what you should do. While being honest, to be clear. But
yeah, you shouldn't lie.
I don't think you should lie.
Oh, no, that's what I said. You shouldn't lie.
Oh, I thought you said you should. Okay. No. But no, yes. So, like, this is... just because you're Muslim doesn't mean you don't have to do the thing that literally everyone else has to do. Hold on.
Yeah.
Do you think that Jewish candidates, again, should they disavow Israel? I think that they should disavow Israel's government right now. I think that would make it more electable. Yeah, they should do that. Why do Muslims not have to? Why do they get a pass? That's my question to you, Moon. Okay, but back to Texas. I think that at the end of the day, it's still a long haul. It's still something that there's
100%.
it's a long shot, and I don't want people to get their hopes up too high, but it's a shot, gang. And this is one of those places where, again, Paxton has. I agree with you. Paxton has been a horrific candidate, horrific for many reasons. Corruption, petty theft. Did you guys see the video of him stealing some dude's pen?
$1,000 pen.
Yeah,
Yes.
just straight up jacking that shit. The mistress stuff, all these things. And Tallarico, again,
A nice young man.
a sensitive young man
A
in
lad.
a world full of horrific.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
he's hitting the right notes. I think there was one or two missteps on the campaign trail, but other than that, it's just been like exactly the right thing to do. If we're going to win Texas, it's going to be this cycle. So I think that this is something that if you are looking to put some time into, put some effort into, put some of your resources into, Texas is a good option. I think it's something where it's going to be close, whether we win or lose. And I think that it's something that we can have an effect on, and Tallarico deserves to win this seat. But like I said, I don't know if that will happen. What does Tallarico need to do to make it happen?
What Tallarico needs to do is he needs to basically continue his outreach to black voters, shore them up, make sure that they know that their concerns are addressed within the Tallarico campaign, and that James Tallarico, and this is the thing that differentiates him from El Sayed, is that he is genuinely not really connected to that online influencer space in the way that El Sayed seems to be. Like, James Tallarico is not going around with Kyle Kalinske or Hassan Piker or whatever. So, and it does seem like James Tallarico does seem a little bit pissed about the whole influencer space kind of sabotaging him by proxy, because they're just going around insulting the black community, and he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Come on. So, but he is doing the right things at every turn. What he needs to do going forward is to just to make sure that the ads stay, and just keep hammering and hammering and hammering ads. Not just about Ken Paxton, but he also needs to define himself, because the Republicans are going to try to define him for him. So he needs to make sure that he defines himself in a way that they're going to have to actually put some effort into countering, rather than just setting the narrative about him.
I agree. What do you think, Alice?
Yeah, I think his campaign was initially pitched as he can flip lots of people who are traditionally Republicans. I don't think that's happening, because he was trying to code conservative and Christian, and then they just started calling him gay and a vegan, and then he was just kind of being played and bullied, and then be like, "No, see, here's me eating meat, here's me with a girlfriend," and losing the news cycle being defined for him. He needs to define himself. He needs to hammer Ken Paxton and make Republican voters stay home, and needs to build up his support from left-leaning people, especially in the black community, who would otherwise stay home. Texas is so bad faith. Just find the people who will vote for you, make them show up, and no one likes Ken Paxton.
Yeah, here's the thing. If I were on Tallarico's campaign, because I agree with you, he does need to kind of separate. He wants to define himself. The defining himself is very, very important. Paxton will give you the ammo you need. You can let your surrogates attack him. You can, again, Trump bad. There's juice to squeeze out of that. Orange man, right? Orange man bad. There's juice to squeeze there.
Orange juice.
Yeah, it's a play. It's a little pun there. Okay. But yes, if you want to change it from a 2% loss to a 2% win, the difference there will be, what are you offering as a candidate? I think the two things that I would advise him to focus on in defining himself, quote unquote, is to put forth and promote a robust set of policies. What are you going to do to help the average Texan voter, right? What are you going to do to help the average person within Texas? How are you going to advocate them on a national level in the Senate, right? What are you going to...
Wait, we got Larkin results. Currently, Moskowitz is at 65 and Larkin is at 35.
Fuck yeah! Okay, 26% in, so it's yeah, hell yeah.
Well, that's also only one county. It's only one county. There's three of them in the district. I guess technically
we're gonna keep waiting until we do the dunks. But
you mean calling random voters and telling them how bad Israel is not convincing?
And the third most Jewish district in the entire country, by the way.
Yes, it's not gonna fly.
The gerrymandered red district.
when it comes to the second thing he needs to do, and this is unique to him, and I think this is where he can excel and make a real name for himself, right? His Christian faith. I think especially in Texas, and let's not kid ourselves, especially among the black community, that matters a lot. And I think that he needs to really kind of lean on that. And again, projected winner Moskowskis. Okay, I saw that. Yeah, he really needs to lean on that and showcase how that will influence his decision making in the Senate for good, right? Like, again, compassion, charity, right? Temperance, all these things, Christian values, right? Of loving thy neighbor. Lean into that shit, okay? Lean into it. Help it define you. It can make a name for yourself in a very Christian area. Like Texas is pretty Christian. I don't think it's going to turn off a single lefty, right? I don't think it's going to turn off a single Dem voter. And again, comparing yourself, like, you don't have to do it yourself. The voters will look at you, and then they'll look at Paxton, and they'll make that comparison, right? And they'll say, well, this guy's Paxton, he says he's for Christian values, but look at all the shit he's doing. Here's an actual Christian and who's living the word of God, all these things. That's what I think. What do you guys think on that?
So I actually think that that is a really good idea, and especially because Texas has one of the most, like, a gigantic portion of one of the most elastic voter groups in the country, and that's Hispanic voters. Hispanic voters, they massively shifted to Trump in 2024, but he's looking really good with them. He did really well in the primary, historic turnout. He just finished up, like, I think it was like a few weeks ago, he finished up his RGV tour, which is the Rio Grande Valley. He went across all of South Texas, going through all these border communities, Hispanic communities, doing a lot of outreach there. So I think that, and especially because the Hispanic community is very, very Christian, especially in a place like South Texas. So that kind of energy is going to go a lot way, especially when the opponent is like Ken Paxton, who's doing the, like, MAGA, kill all Hispanics, whatever thing. Like, it's going to be like Tallarico doing that is going to help him make some massive inroads into a community that massively shifted to Trump in 2024.
And currently, like, look, Hispanics have flipped on Trump already. So this will just cement it, right? Like, because again, it's not just about opinions. It's about, can you get these people in a midterm election off cycle to get off the couch and go out and cast a ballot? And I think that those kinds of things will really help. What are you trying to stream here, Alice?
Some relevant random research on candidate qualities. Yes, honest and compassionate are two of the top trending ones. This is from 2024.
Okay, can you give us some context for this? What is this? What are we looking
at? So this is from Third Way, which is an organization with terrible, like, marketing and PR for itself, but does a ton of research. And they're the ones who, like, no, guys, we've actually looked at the numbers. We need more moderate candidates. They do, in fact, do better. And everyone's like, shut up, nerd. You just want fewer good things. It's not true. Their own marketing and social media sucks, okay? But they have all the research and the data. This is when we're thinking who could beat Trump in 2024. Like, they looked at a few things. It's like candidate quality is far more important than actions, which is like what they're actually doing, which is far more important than their positions on issues, which is far more important than their ideology. So when you get on Twitter and they're like, oh, you need to be like a socialist or aligned with us ideologically, no one cares. They care about who you are as a person and what you're actually going to do about it, or what you've actually done. They want, like, a pragmatist, not an idealist. And then within the bucket of qualities, like what makes a quality candidate, they tested a bunch of personality traits and stuff. It's like knowing government and being super smart and intelligent, right? And having a track record. That was kind of the case for someone like Hillary Clinton. No one cares. If you're honest and compassionate, people really like that.
I think genuine.
So, yeah.
Was genuine a category?
There's authentic, which
Yes.
is kind of down a little bit. That's not very popular, but integrity is. So, like, on these, it's a Tallarico sweep.
Fair enough. No, integrity, honesty, compassion. Again, we'll see how that plays out. Like I said, Texas has broken my heart before. But
listen, okay, Texas is the ruby red jewel of the Republican crown, okay? In 2012, Ted Cruz won by like 20%. It is a ruby red state. So it is shifting, all right? Just because we didn't win the battle doesn't mean we won't win the war in the long term, okay? Texas is shifting towards us. Even if there have been some blips in the radar due to Hispanic voters and stuff, I think we're going to win it. I think we're going to win this cycle, actually.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I think that it's here. Let me. Oh no! Don't show again. What are you doing? Oh, back. What is going? Hold on. Sorry. Okay. It wanted me to do a how was this stream survey, right? And it was covering up everything. I'm glad it didn't show anything I didn't want it to. Okay. Back to Texas. What about the lower? Is there any other race in Texas that we're looking at? Okay, before we do that, what are some threats to Tallarico? What should he be looking out for that would be a negative indicator or something that he should avoid, right?
So what he should avoid doing is basically he should avoid he basically just avoid talking about like Paxton's attacks. He should not engage with like the vegan or like the weak soy boy stuff. Like he should just like not care about that. And he gave a very good answer on an interview where I think the interviewer asked him like, "Do you know that they're like calling you like a soy boy or whatever?" No, they said he had low T. They said, "Do you know they're calling you low T Tallarico?" And he goes, "To be honest, I don't even know what that means." And that's the perfect response because these are some terminally online red pill insults that nobody knows what you're talking about unless you're like actually online constantly. So he just needs to not fall into the trap of getting put into like the Republican like framing and just kind of talk about what's going on, talk about Paxton, and talk about himself, and talk about what he wants to do for Texas.
Fair enough. What do you think, Alice?
Yeah, I think because Paxton is basically sort of like a mini Trump, using lots of the kind of vice, be an evil candidate stuff. So there's going to be lots of attacks on Tallarico. Ignore all of them. Don't give them any airtime. Don't legitimize them or center them as a story. And also, there's a lot of bad things about Ken Paxton. And the problem there is focusing on too many of them is scattered into clusterfuck. That's what Trump does, right? He just stumbles from one scandal to the next. The media can't really keep up or hold him down and make anything a big problem for him. And he kind of gets away with it. It's the way that everyone tunes out. So with Paxton, there's a ton of controversies. Things like cheating on his wife and getting biblically divorced. Weirdly, people care about that like the most. For Plattner, his biggest popularity drop off, which he never recovered, was that he may have been cheating on his wife. Like that was really the tipping point. It's weird, but like they should pick one thing and make that the story and keep haunting Paxton with it. Like make him the steal the pen guy, because there's too much to pick from, and that
makes sense.
That's
Focus.
Yeah.
Like a laser. Okay, if you let the light diffuse too much, it's ineffective, right? But if you focus it into a singular point, you can do what you need to do. $10 from Riddell PPB. We're going back to Ohio a little bit here. It says, Max Miller is drowning. Brian is a good version of Plattner. Vivek is hated, but Elon is pumping his campaign. Amy has COVID baggage, and she has a few issues hurting her. Husted tied to corruption right now.
Yeah, so John Husted is the Republican incumbent.
Oh, Houston.
Quote unquote incumbent because he was appointed because J.D. Vance became vice president. So he doesn't really get, like incumbents that are like just promoted don't really get any incumbency bonus. He's just kind of like the guy who's interim and then he's running for a full term.
Fair enough. Okay. Back to Texas. Is there any, okay, so I agree with you that we should be laser focused. And pick the issues. You said the cheating. I don't know. Like, I trust your data on this, but like intuitively, that doesn't seem like the move.
It's weird. Voters are weird.
But hey,
why anyone is still voting for Ken Paxton, I don't know. The pen thing
if that's what does it, then fair, right? I'll trust the data on that. I guess
it's the contrasting compassion and honesty narrative, right? That was the best trait. So they just pick any one thing that represents that.
Who do you trust to maybe a good comparison? Like, who do you trust to represent you? When Ken Paxton swore an oath, swore his took vows to honor and protect his wife, he cheated on her. Tallarico will stand up and keep his promises. I don't know. You can write the campaign yourself, right? But you know what I mean. Like, I think a good juxtaposition might be helpful. Okay. Any other races in Texas that we should be looking out for?
Yeah, so even though Texas is horrifyingly gerrymandered, they did kind of potentially dummy-mander themselves. We can't say it's a dummy-mander yet until the election actually happens. But in South Texas specifically, there are 2 seats, Texas 15 and Texas 35, that Republicans kind of went all in on the Hispanic voters, thinking that they would just stay with them. And because of that shift left, they're basically toss-ups now. So Texas 15 is a very interesting district because you have this Democrat named Bobby Polito, who is a blue dog who signed on to Promise to America. And he's like a music star. He's like a very popular musician in that area. So he's a very good chance of flipping that district from a Republican. And then in Texas 23, there's Brandon Herrera is the Republican candidate. So that race is going to be interesting for Brandon Herrera reasons. So that's another potential flip, another very Hispanic district. And then the last district is Texas 35, which is kind of in the same area, but it's more like eastern San Antonio, southeast. That district could also flip as well. That was a gerrymandered district, but it's also got a lot of Hispanic voters in it. So there's kind of these 3 districts down there that Republicans gerrymandered, but might go to Democrats because of the high Hispanic populations.
Yeah, you say might. Like, what? If you had to give it odds, what are we talking here?
So for Texas 15, I would say 60-40 for Democrats.
Okay.
Texas 23, I would say 60-40 for Republicans. And then Texas 35, I would just straight up say 50-50. So
maybe if you're thinking of doing something more House related, that would be a good use of your time, right?
Yes.
How's the population in that district, right? Like, so when I think about like where we should campaign, I want to run up numbers in high population, high density areas.
Yes. So we have good options there because Texas 23 and Texas 35 are both like over I think it's like over 40% of the Texas 23 district is like basically in the San Antonio area. So really, if you're looking at canvassing in out of those districts, just go to the San Antonio portions of the districts and canvass there. There's plenty of people to get out to vote there. You're not going to run out of people.
Fair enough. I think I'd rate this as high likelihood for me to support, right? Like if you only have one race to support, Ohio or Texas would be the ones I would back at this point. We still got more races to talk about. Maybe we'll add to that. But like I said, if I only had one place that I could spend my time and energy advocating for, it's either going to be Texas or Ohio at this point. I'm curious what you guys would say at this point as well.
I actually would say the exact same 2 states, believe it or not, Texas and Ohio. Those would be the 2 biggest. Those would be
just
top
one at this point. Okay.
And also, like another big reason I'm in on Texas is because since it is like the ruby red, it's like the ruby of Republicans. It's their crown jewel. If they lose it, they will all fucking kill themselves. Every single one of them. They're just
in Minecraft, in a video game.
In Minecraft,
not
of course,
real. Okay.
They will be so depressed. It will be the most depressed election result ever if Republicans
just the
lose
bragging
that.
rights. No, I get it. There's some morale there, right? Like the amount of hype Democrats would gain from getting Texas.
Yes, there's a reason why Republicans desperately don't want to lose it.
Yeah, if they lose Ohio and Texas, it's lost. Like MAGA as a movement, it's dead.
Oh, if we could get both? Ooh.
Yeah, and if we flip both, Trump's, like, if you think about it, Trump's political capital, it's like literally negative. He has like negative political capital if that happens.
If that happens, every Republican in 2028 is going to be running by disavowing MAGA instead of running on it. Like, that's the tide.
We'll see. So what, Alice, do you have a similar vibe right now, or what do you think? If you had...
I think Ohio's slight ahead because everyone hates Ramaswamy, and that's going to depress the whole ticket. There's a lot of blue momentum in Ohio. Texas, no fucking clue. It's the state that disappoints us, but it might be slight ahead because of all the national media attention. And I think Paxton's just going to steadily sink. Alaska is, I think, actually the battleground right now. I'm all in for Piltola.
Do you want to talk about Alaska next? Because that's our last toss-up. So,
yes, let's talk about Alaska. I'm going to be real. I don't know much about the state, so I don't have much to say.
So I said this in I was going back and forth with Maggie Jacobs on Twitter, and she's from Alaska, and she kind of validated what my thoughts were, where it was basically like Alaska is kind of like this mythical northern kingdom that nobody really knows anything about, and it's like impossible to poll. So like polls in Alaska are notoriously unreliable. That said, it's not like it's biased in one direction or the other. So the reason I have it as a toss-up is because it genuinely, like, there's the confidence is very low in anything. Now, I will say Peltola is very strong and Sullivan is very weak. He's just like kind of like a nobody who like no one really cares about. Basically, he flipped the seat in 2014, and then he won in 2020 for re-election, and then no one really cares about him. He's just kind of like a standard like neocon Republican. He's just not a very exciting person.
What are your thoughts, Alice?
Okay, look, I think everybody is talking about Texas. If we are out of the equation, no one talks about Alaska. But if we talk about Alaska, then there's momentum for Alaska. Alaska is very weird. It's very out of the way. It's very rural. It has very unique needs. And so as much as I use about populism, I think the best case of populism we're seeing is from Alaska, where she's specifically running against DC as a whole, because DC is this concept of a faraway place. And Alaska has really unique problems. It's super affected by delays in supply chains and inflation and prices, because it's hard to like get supplies to grocery stores up there. It has a unique relationship to the oil industry, which is being messed up by the Iran war. And I think Peltola has a real shot. We can create positive momentum for her easy because she's very likable and very uncontroversial. There's no support for the guy against her. I think we can actually move that. In Texas, it's a room full of everyone shouting. Peltola, I think, is very like movable, and it's close.
To maybe push back a little bit. One of the things that I do know about, I don't know much, but Alaska seems very, what's a good way to put it? Resentful of outside influence.
I would actually agree with that. I would say yes, and I think that.
And well, let me finish my thought, and I'll give it to you. So I worry that by making it look like we look at those outsiders now advocating for what we should do in Alaska, that has a chance of backfiring, right? That's my worry, right? That's my concern. I don't know how valid that is. Like I said, I don't know much about Alaska. But that the kind of like outside pressure, outside influence in Alaska,
that's possible. Yeah, nationalizing it could backfire.
That could backfire, and I worry about that. Aidan, I didn't mean to cut you off. What are your thoughts?
Good,
and then I want Alice to respond and give her the microphone for a little bit. Go ahead.
I think I would actually agree with you, because I think the best way for Alaska, or for Democrats to talk about Alaska, is to pretend like there's no election in Alaska and ask what Alaska even is. That's basically like what's in Alaska? Like, we basically pretend, leave them to their business, let the mythical Northerners do their thing, and then I think that they will give us good results.
Your lips to God's ears. Okay, I hope that's true. What do you think, Alice?
So you're telling me getting together a group of like white liberal women and making Facebook AI generated memes about like Game of Thrones in the North, and then being like, yeah, go Democrats, Mary Peltola, might not play well in Alaska. That's fair. That's fair.
Don't like I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just my intuition.
I think that stuff might actually be.
Throw her some money.
I think that stuff actually might be better than a bunch of big influencers going there, because when you just have a bunch of Facebook groups, it's less hard to pinpoint like someone who's like an outsider coming in. It's just kind of like a bunch of people talking about it. Whereas if you have if we had Hassan Piker go up to Alaska, I think we would lose by 20.
Please no.
Yeah. So
it's dead.
That's obviously like a little bit of hyperbole, but it's kind of not really. Just don't the number one mistake in elections is you should never tell voters what their interests are. Just don't do that. People hate that shit. Nobody likes to be told what their interests are. It's the same reason why you see the black community coming out strongly against progressives. It is because of this like class reduction stuff and we're going to help you with your interests because we know what your interests are. And it's just no. To learn people's interests, you just ask them what they are. Okay. Do not tell people what their interests are. It's very, very bad in election.
If you talk about Peltola, be like, wow, she seems to really be a unique voice for Alaskans. That's very cool. Like, she needs to feel special and local to her place.
I think if she wins, the memes are a go. I'll greenlight the memes if she wins, because that'd be cool, right? Just to rub it in some faces and make it funny.
Yes, absolutely.
And all these things.
The funniest scenario is we win Alaska, we lose Michigan. That's the funniest possible scenario on the board.
Look, I don't. Michigan. Okay, I don't want to harp.
Speaking
on
of
Michigan. I don't want to harp
Alaska,
on Michigan.
The primary is today.
I want to say one more thing. Ooh. The fact that Michigan is in play for Republicans right now bothers me, because it should not.
It's not great. It's not great.
we basically what primary voters have done there, and influencers who supported El Sayed has taken weights and hung them around our neck. So now
Yes.
we can still win the race, but they've decided to shackle us to these anchors, right?
Yes. We
And
have the leftist albatross across our necks.
and
Right now.
luckily,
The collar.
gang,
shock
my
collar.
back is strong. I can carry a feeding bottom lane, to use some league analogies. Bottom lane's feeding, doesn't matter. My top lane's strong. I can carry it, but it's going to be harder. It's going to be harder. So, okay, sorry about that. Let's go. So, anything else on Alaska before we move on?
So there's also a competitive governor race, which is which is not really surprising. So Alaska's local politics are actually probably some of the most interesting in the country. Their legislature, they actually have a coalition government, because their politics are so strange. They have like a coalition between some certain Democrats and some Republicans who are more moderate that are basically controlling the legislature right now. So it's very unusual. It's like not something that you normally see. And then the governor is like in that state is like very, very I'll say like not the governor, but like the office is like unconventional. For example, in 2014 they actually elected an independent to be their governor, so they can do weird shit. And right now there's a Democrat called Tom Begich who is looking to potentially flip that seat, and the polls are showing it as competitive, so that could potentially happen.
We'll see. Hopefully. But like I said, I think that my judgment on Alaska is just kind of leave it to its own devices. Send them some cash if you wish. But I think that just kind of staying out of it is actually probably the best call, because I think that for Alaska, that will probably be any kind of trying to make it a national thing will backfire. That's my thoughts. I don't know. Again, low confidence on that take, but it is my take.
Yeah.
So we've talked about Alaska. We've talked about the toss-ups, right? What are the lean R's? What are the ones where we're like, okay, these are a bit of a long shot, but they're possible? What do we got?
Do you believe? Are you feeling lucky?
So this would be Nebraska and Iowa. Those are my two lean R's.
Blue
Sorry,
Iowa, we can do it.
Typing them out. Okay, Nebraska. Give us what you got.
So Nebraska is a super interesting case. Dems kind of like are playing the Machiavellian role there. So basically, what they did is in 2024, an independent named Dan Osborne ran against the incumbent senator. I forget her name. She's just some irrelevant Republican neocon. Deb Fischer. Deb Fischer was the incumbent Republican, and Kamala Harris lost the state by like 20%, and Dan Osborne lost it by like 6%. It was one of the most crazy overperformances. It was easily the biggest overperformance for the entire country in a Senate race that year, and it was one of the biggest overperformances in Nebraska for a very long time. And so he's running again now. And I don't know if you saw any of this, but there was a lot of, I guess it's kind of like election drama like throughout the year, because Republicans were desperately trying to force the Democrats to have a candidate on the ballot with the independent. And the Democrats, they were able to win the cases basically because the Republicans brought them at the last day. So the Nebraska Supreme Court was like, this is bullshit. You guys should have done this earlier. So things worked out good for us, at least in terms of the law, like what we're allowed to do. So the reason why it's competitive is because the quote unquote Democratic candidate is an independent, and he's made it a big deal to like capitalize on running against Trump in a populist way, but not like in a brain rot populist way. He's just kind of like, he's basically running like a centrist populist kind of like working class normal person campaign.
And to be clear, he will caucus with the Democrats, correct, if he wins?
So he says he won't, but in practice, he almost certainly would, because not caucusing with either party basically means you don't get any committee assignments, and all you get to do is just vote on things that come to you. So in practice, he probably wouldn't stay that way, but he says he would not.
That might be something he has to in Nebraska, right? He has to say that kind of deal.
Yes, that's why I'm thinking he's just saying that.
It's worth taking into account though, when you do these. Alice, what are your thoughts on Nebraska?
I don't think we're getting Nebraska, but that's okay. We're not aiming for Nebraska.
I'm gonna agree with Alice on this one. I think this is one where I don't think it's worth investing time, resources, or effort.
I would agree, and I think that outside influence kind of damages Osborne's independent kind of status. So I think it's best to leave him do his thing.
Yeah, I just again, it's hope he wins and beats the MAGA guy, but none of my money's going there. None of my efforts.
I'm glad it spooks Republicans. I want them spending their money there.
Yeah.
They need to know there's a risk.
Oh yeah, hopefully he can be close enough where Republicans will dip into their war chest and waste some of their money there to protect that seat. But we'll see. That's just kind of like that's one of those things where, look, sometimes the value of a race, and I want to stress this, gang, not only are we working with limited resources, the Republicans are working with limited resources. So anytime we can force them to spend money where they normally would not have to, that's kind of a W for us. Even if we don't take
Correct.
the victory in the election, by forcing them to spend resources in that race, that's resources they're not putting into Georgia. That's resources they're not putting into Michigan. That's resources they're not putting into Ohio or Texas, right? And so we have to kind of take these things strategically. And while I don't think we should be putting much into Nebraska, perhaps a positive tweet or two, right? Perhaps a positive word on occasion, right? That might be worth, or even just kind of highlighting the closeness of it. That might be the go-to there. What do you guys think of that? Of just, instead of like endorsing or whatever, just putting out things like, wow, this is much closer than it should be. Republicans might lose this one type of deal. What do you think about that kind of messaging strategy?
Yeah, I generally approve. And this isn't the only race where Democrats have kind of like successfully employed this strategy. So believe it or not, in Idaho and South Dakota, the Democrats have wisely dropped out and let their independents kind of run. And they're almost certainly not going to win, but they're going to make the incumbents have to spend money that they would never spend otherwise. These incumbents, this is Idaho and South Dakota. These are safe red states. They would never spend a dime if they didn't have to. So that's good. And then, unfortunately, we almost had a chance in Montana of doing this, but the Democratic candidate is a fucking egotistic maniac and refused to drop out before the deadline. So there's just a three-way race, and because of that, it's going to be a safe fire race. So what are you going to do? You can't win them all.
That's loser talk. We can't win them all. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I know what you mean. It's just sometimes, like, this is why candidate quality matters, and part of candidate quality is knowing when to fucking go away, right? When it's not going to work. And you just need to take one on the chin for the team.
Oh,
Alice?
I think Alice might have frozen.
Uh-oh. You're roboting, Alice. Give her a second, gang. It is her, not me, right?
Yeah, it's not you. I don't.
Well, damn.
That's
Aidan, the women are abandoning us today. Kyla wasn't able to show up. Alice is she here now?
Oh,
hello. Did it come back?
Hello. Oh, she's back.
Okay.
Sorry, my internet just like.
We're just talking about how us sensitive young men were being abandoned by all the women today. Like Kyla didn't make it, then you ditched us. It was crazy. Yeah. What are your thoughts? I knew you were trying to get something out, but then the computer interrupted you. So go ahead.
I think in the same way we've seen on the left effectively over the past 10 years, a movement to have people who would otherwise identify with our party be demoralized and start identifying as independents instead, and be more wary about supporting anyone who's Democrat. Republicans now have the same problem. Absolutely. And they should have that same problem. Like, encourage independents to run in those places. Be like, ew, you're a Republican? Like, you're the MAGA party? They lost. They're weak. Like, you're an establishment person? That's what to do in places like Nebraska. That's kind of the best to hope for.
That makes sense. Okay.
Harsh the vibe.
Any other things, thoughts on Nebraska? I don't want to spend too much time here. Nothing? Okay. Yeah. I want to talk about Iowa, because Iowa
was super interesting.
Is my dark horse candidate, okay? If I was going to pick a current lean R, right, that's a real long shot that I think can pull it off, Iowa's the one. I'm looking at these poll numbers, gang, and we're talking like it's neck and neck. Fox News has the candidate Turek, I believe. Is that his name?
Yes,
Mhm.
Josh Turek. Very
Turek's
strong
ahead.
candidate.
Echelon Insights has him ahead. He's down in Emerson College, unfortunately. Emerson College is a great pollster, right? But like these are
Well, not in the Michigan primary.
well, fair. Look, okay, I'm checking traditionally. Uh, like Hinson's up in that one, but not by a lot. Like this is
Yeah, it's very
Iowa
close.
we're talking about. But
Yeah.
I want to hear everyone's assessment of the field here of Iowa. I'm gonna give it first to Aidan, then I want to hear from Alice. Go ahead, Aidan.
So in Iowa, first of all, I think Iowa is one of the states where Democrats basically locked the fuck in and they chose the best candidates in every single race. So not just in the Senate race, we got Josh Turek, but also the governor race, obviously Rob Sand, incredibly strong candidate. He's lean D favorite to flip that governor seat. So he's going to help us a lot there. And there's also 3 competitive House seats in Iowa that we have a good chance of flipping. So and we all nominated good candidates for those overall too. So overall, the Democrats kind of locked in for Iowa, and so it all depends on turnout and persuasiveness towards independence. And I'm kind of hopeful on Democrats to be able to push the tide over in Iowa this year. Josh Turek is incredibly strong. His background is that he flipped a state legislative seat that was like, I think it was like Trump plus like 12 or something in 2022 by like 2 votes. And then in 2024, he got reelected by like a decent margin. It wasn't even as close. So he has a record as a very strong overperformer. So, and if he won, I believe that if he won by the exact amount that or if he overperformed by the exact amount that he overperformed in 2024, he would actually flip the state from the presidential result. So he's a very strong candidate.
What do you think, Alice?
I weirdly think I'd kind of give him the same odds as El Sayed. Because El Sayed is kind of fighting against a lot of headwinds, kind of his own creation. Turek is running against in a red state, basically. I think it's like about the same level of lift. And I give them about the same odds. We're like, it's pretty close if they lock in. But Turek is doing everything right. He's a Paralympian, super cool guy. I started positively tweeting about him. Even the things he's running on are the clear, to appeal to moderates, the top issues of Social Security, affordability, healthcare. I think he could win, and if you talk about him, a lot of moderates get impressed and will support him.
I think this is the reason I have this as my dark horse. This is where I think we're gonna see something shift from red to blue, and it's gonna surprise a lot of people. The reason I say that is because there are a lot of moderates in Iowa, and as you said, Turek plays well with that crowd, and a lot of independents, a lot of moderates are really tired of Trump. I think this is the race where not only is a candidate good, but the fact that the nationalization of politics will actually help us in this case, right? I absolutely think that we have a good shot, and it's, in my opinion, and you guys can, because you guys are very smart, and maybe you'll disagree with me, I think it's going to come down to turnout. This is one where, if I had extra resources and I wanted to pull an upset, and really demoralize the Republicans, throw money, throw time, throw effort Turek's way. Getting people out, turnout, is going to be the thing that wins in Iowa, right? More than anything, right? What are your thoughts?
I completely agree with Iowa, and a thing that adds on to that and supports it is Iowa is the state with the most Obama-Trump counties of any state in the country. It is the entire eastern half of the state is basically Obama-Trump land. So if there's any kind of voters who would be disaffected by this, who are Trump voters, it's going to be them. They're going to see that stuff and they're going to be like, yeah, I got duped, and they're either going to stay home or they might even vote for Turek because Rob Sand has been doing a lot of work getting Republicans to trying to get them to support him. So I think there's a good chance that Sand might have coattails in this regard.
Fair enough. Okay. Any other races in Iowa that we want to be looking at? Anything else about Iowa?
There's the 3 House races. One of them is very likely for Democrats to flip. Another one is decently likely, and the other one is kind of a stretch, but it's up there. And then the 4th race is safe far. So,
anything from you, Alice?
I don't know about any of the races. I think if Michigan is kind of up to Syed himself to decide, Ohio with canvassing could go our way. Texas is too loud and noisy for us to make the difference. Alaska backfires if we nationalize it. I think Iowa might be the one if we could lock in and get all the liberals to like be cheerleaders for. We could probably do. We could a lot of moderates be impressed, and lefties are wholly disinterested in that conversation because he's too moderate and boring for them.
I think
So
Yes,
I build that lane.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Aidan.
sorry. I will say that he did beat a more progressive person in the primary, and it wasn't even because he beat him by like I think he won like almost every county.
Yeah, it was.
So he
Yeah,
did.
I remember seeing that. It wasn't even
Okay.
close. I think that on that note, right? Hold on.
Like, are they pissed enough about that to try sabotaging us, or will they just let us have that one? Because that sounds like a cool conversation we could have.
I don't think so because Turek is so likable that shitting on him just makes you look unhinged to any lib.
That sounds like a social media win conversation for me.
Sorry, I was getting a little direct message. Someone whose name rhymes with Hooten was admitting how wrong they were and how I was right. I just wanted to take a moment to bask in that.
Oh, on what?
Well, if he wants to, I don't talk about like DMs the specifics, right? But yeah, feels good. Feels good. Okay. I think when it comes here on the Senate to kind of close out this segment, and we don't have too much time longer, and I do want to get to the locals because Alice had a lot of data on that and she wanted to share, and we're going to get into that. But if I were to talk about like if I were to rank the races where I think that if you have limited resources, where should you put it? Ohio and Texas are tied for first. Like, it depends on whether you value. I think that Alice's read is right. Texas is going to be a little bit of a harder push than Ohio, but the reward for Texas is a lot for all the reasons that Aidan laid out, right? Jewel in the Republicans' crown, and taking that from them is a huge morale boost and a victory. Ohio's we got a slight edge on effectiveness there, but it's less impressive. But it's still impressive. Don't get that wrong. So those are tied for first. I think actually Iowa would be my third choice. Maine and Michigan. Maine distant fourth, Michigan an even distanter fifth. Now Michigan can go to third. Michigan can get to third if El Sayed does what I think he should.
It's needed to be done, yeah.
Yeah, but well, that's a wait and see. So that's my ranking on those. And again, I wouldn't. The rest I think are just don't touch them. What do you think? What are your guys' rankings?
I think I agree. Actually, I think I would do a little bit different order though. I think I would actually do Ohio first, Iowa second, and then Texas third. Because
Really?
Iowa is of all the battleground states here, I guess besides Maine, and I guess besides Alaska, but Alaska's really far away and it's really big. Iowa's like the smallest state in population, so the amount of impact that you can make with your advocacy and your money is going to be way more in proportion than definitely in a state like Texas and even in a state like Ohio.
Okay, so your argument is more of a bang for your buck thing. No, that makes sense. I get that. Interesting. What about you, Alice? I want to give you last ranking.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because like something like Texas, it's so loud and so noisy and so nationalized. Even if it comes down to like 0.1% of the electorate tipping that represents so many people across such a wide variety of places. And like $1 billion worth of like dumping money into, like $1 bajillion that we don't have. Iowa, I think as this like rising kind of connected talking to each other liberal sphere, we could probably make a difference in Iowa. Like that's doable. Texas is just too noisy. It's too high scope
So
for us.
people
Like we
in
would
chat are asking, why
huge
not
influence.
Maine? Why Iowa and not Maine? And what's
I
your
think
answer?
So the
Maine could
reason-
have.
So the reason why I wouldn't do an event in Maine is because I think that we should spend most of our time in either toss-up or lean R areas. And I think that in areas where the Democrats are either like kind of ahead or like, since Maine is like a normally Democratic leaning state, I think that we should, it's not that we're abandoning it, but we're letting the Democrats kind of do their Democrats thing. And then we're focusing on areas where, okay, this area is looking a little bit more red. Let's help them out there even more because they need even more stuff here than they do in the other places.
Bang for your buck. I understand. Sounds good. I think that I generally agree. I'll stand by my take on Ohio a third, Texas second, right? well, Texas tied with first, to be clear. But I understand and I get your argument about bang for your buck and population sizes from Alice and from Aidan there. Both of your names start with A. It's very alliterative. Sorry, just a idle observation. Chat, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys agree with our rankings. Is there anything that we haven't talked about when it comes to the Senate, when it comes to like these states that we should be, etc.? My listening library for $5. I will vote for any candidate who can tell me who the Hollow Knight is. That is my requirement, which I believe will eliminate most people running. Isn't that a bug? Right? Isn't it the bug guy, Hollow Knight?
You're gonna make a lot of people mad by saying that.
It's a bug, isn't it?
No, I think it is. I think it is.
It's sort of a shell created by the Emperor.
But
yeah,
I don't know.
sort of like more of a simulacrum of a bug. It'd be a vessel.
Okay. So Alice, you
Silks on
wanted
his
to
face.
focus on more locals, or you had an argument for us, right? Like something you wanted
Yes.
to pitch. I'm going to give you the
Yes.
floor. I'm going to allow you to pitch it. And
Cool.
we're good
So-
with the stream if you wanna drop that, Aidan. Thank you for showing us. I do appreciate
Awesome.
it.
So a lot of people have been hating on Ken Martin, who's the DNC chair, saying he was the bad person for the job. That there may be some merit in that. I don't think it's productive to talk about at least before the midterms, because that would just mess everything up, right? But I was like, okay, besides just tearing down another Democrat, let's look into it. And I learned people are saying the close second to win as DNC chair was a guy called Ben Wickler. And Ben Wickler was favored more by moderates, and he didn't win because he wasn't as networked nationally. He was focused more on his state as a case study, which is Wisconsin. And Wisconsin has a long history of the 20th century as being like the cradle of the progressivism movement. And then Republicans struck back. It's like Star Wars, right? And took it over and gerrymandered it to hell. And then slowly over the past 20 years, Democrats have been working hard and figuring out how to take it back. And so Wisconsin is like on the verge of getting a blue trifecta at the state level again. And that's why Republicans were funding Francesca Hong to fuck it. Because this is one of the most pivotal kind of strategies. If you can get a blue trifecta at the state level, you can govern as a state, like you can pass things, you can write law, both chambers will thumbs up, and then pass it to the governor who will sign it. And that's what makes blue states awesome, because they can actually govern. And the negative perception that Democrats do nothing is because we're held back in like clashing legislatures and stalled out on purpose. And then things get worse and worse and worse and more boring and turn out depressives. There's a few things we can do when we're in power. One, we can ban partisan gerrymandering in the state for good, which makes it you can't rig elections again. And two, there's something called the National Popular Vote Compact. So how the Electoral College works, it sucks. And to overturn it, we would need like a constitutional amendment.
Can I pause on the gerrymandering thing? Ban on gerrymandering. So I'm gonna give you, this is a bitter pill, and I don't like that it's true, but it is true. One of the reasons we're probably going to lose the gerrymandering war is because back in the 2010s, 2000s, 20, that era, we were like, partisan gerrymandering is bad, and so everywhere the Democrats controlled, we banned it in our states, right?
Yeah, we disarmed.
Republicans didn't. And they're like, nah, fuck that. And so now that we're here, what we have to do is because now we're in a gerrymandering war, but we have less ability to do it because we have more obstacles that we put for ourselves. And so I worry that banning it statewide in Wisconsin is just going to prevent us from being able to use that when next we need it. I think that banning it in the statewide in states was a mistake. It needs a federal ban. If we're going to ban it, and I think we should, it has to be federal. Doing it in our states just hurts us, right? It just hurts us.
But this is how we get there, because this is about leveraging federal power and locking in like foolproof democracy. When Democrats get to govern and we get to pass stuff, it's popular and no one can undo it. Trump has tried to overturn the Affordable Care Act and failed. Gay marriage has not been repealed. They can't do it. And they hate to see us, like when we can prove to voters that like the connection between actions and consequences, we do win. That's why I support also abolishing the filibuster. That's spicy. We don't need to get into that here. But it's like when we can see like, oh, good things versus bad things, democratically that does reflect, and that becomes a new check and balance, which is how it's supposed to be. But yeah, we get the blue trifecta. And the other thing we can do, the better, more important thing, which it gets into that federal gerrymandering thing, the electoral college fucking sucks. And that's what we need to get rid of. And we don't have the majorities realistically to ever get rid of that in Congress. But there's something called the National Popular Vote Compact, which is where a state promises once we get enough, like 270 points worth of states to agree, then it clicks into effect, which is those states just say whoever wins the national popular vote will just get our state's electors. And once that happens, then the electoral college is a moot point. Because then you just have 270 votes guaranteed to whoever wins popular vote.
That's one of those things though, like that just seems like a it seems like a gentleman's promise that I worry that say we get to that point, right? It's a hotly contested national election for the presidency. We have the National Popular Vote Compact, I forget its exact name, locked into place. 270 electoral votes worth of states have agreed to it, but it's a hotly contested election, and then we have a state that is part of the compact that actually goes against the popular vote. I don't trust them to keep their word, right? I don't trust them to do that. I think they'll be like, nah, fuck it. We're gonna go with what our state voted for. I don't know.
I think it's legally binding once it goes into effect.
What would happen is they'd
some teeth
appeal
in
to
it.
the Supreme Court, and I think that the Supreme Court would rule with them.
Here's the thing: if the Democrats actually control the legislature, and like let's say Republicans won the state, but Democrats won the national popular vote, then I think they could justify using the popular vote thing to send the Democratic slate instead. Because even if the Republicans won the state, the Democrats have the power to send the national popular vote thing in. So I think that's the case where that might matter. But I also think when it comes to Wisconsin, actually, when it comes to the gerrymandering war, that's like our biggest like target, because it's currently a Republican gerrymander 6-2, and if Democrats get in, we could just redraw it and make it a 6-2 Democrat gerrymander. And so that's another reason why it's super important for us to flip this, because we can gain a bunch of seats out of Wisconsin. We can just get a ton of them. Whereas if you look at a lot of these Republican states, it's mainly like a bunch of small states taking like one seat. Whereas if Democrats are going to fight back, we have to get a bunch of seats out of like a few states.
And that's a general trend too. Like if we can get a trifecta at a state level, we become way more efficient, way more effective. Those are hard to break. We can focus our efforts elsewhere. Like it's a general goal of like, instead of this come on thing, oh, let's throw money everywhere. And it's like, we get some results kind of across the board. If we can lock the fuck in and then like, this is a blue state now, that tends to not backslide. That's why like we don't waste our time attacking like Alabama as much. It's worth it. Like there are some gains. So in general, you get like a higher yield if we can do that. There are a few places where we can do that. There are battleground swing states that are on the verge of a trifecta, like this cycle or within the next like 2 cycles.
What
Wisconsin,
are they?
Wisconsin, Michigan, the other one, suspicious, progressive challenger. Let's make this inefficient. Weird coincidence. Pennsylvania. Josh Shapiro, also a favorite target of people who totally are on the left, and Arizona. Arizona is a shit show because right now it's governorship, state house, and state senate. Everything is up for re-election, and everything is a toss-up. It could lead to a blue trifecta or a red trifecta.
Everything no. I don't know if I agree with that. When it comes to at least when it comes to the governor race, it's likely Democrat. Katie Hobbs is super strong. I think that she is probably going to win. That when it comes to the legislature, though, you're completely correct.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, I saw that the governor's like a little tipped.
Yeah, it might be a mixed bag, unfortunately, in that race. Let's talk about Pennsylvania just briefly, because it is my home, the state I currently reside in.
State I grew up in.
I think it was 2025, yeah? We had a bunch of special elections here. I remember going to vote in those special elections. I think it was 2025. It might have been early 2026, one of the two.
It was 2025.
Okay, thank you. There were counties in Pennsylvania that have been red for 100 years that flipped to Democrat. Josh Shapiro has done amazing work here in Pennsylvania, and it's reflecting in down ballot races. And combine that with the Trump's drain on Republicans, right? And how it's depressing turnout because everyone hates fucking Trump. We have a real shot for a trifecta here in Pennsylvania. And I think that we will, like, the seat flips are real. The Supreme Court, I believe we retained that. We might have flipped it.
Yes. Democrats have controlled it for a while, but you retained it. I think it's up through 2029. So
yeah. So we got it for a while. That's going to be really important. And yeah, Pennsylvania, I am bullish on Pennsylvania going even bluer than it is now, right?
100%. Josh Shapiro is super strong. He's probably going to win by 20%, which is going to have a lot of coattails. The state Senate is the thing that Democrats need to flip. And if they do that, they could just redraw the maps if they wanted to. Now, we'll see if Shapiro would want to do that. That's kind of like a post-election question, because he obviously would not want to say that before the election. But
I guess we'll find
and
out.
even when it comes to like down ballot races in Pennsylvania, even though there's not like a Senate race or anything, there's a bunch of competitive House races that could flip. There's Pennsylvania 10, Pennsylvania 7, Pennsylvania 8, and Pennsylvania 1. So there's 4 House races that Democrats could flip there in November.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to get out every single one. We want a blue wave, baby. What are we looking at, Alice?
Okay, yeah. So within those, there's those few target states that we could get, those 4 states we could get a trifecta in this cycle. Ohio's a bit more of a reach. Pennsylvania might be the biggest to go. Everything I read, we're not confident we'll get a blue state senate, Pennsylvania, but Shapiro has great coattails. Shapiro's likely to win. So like governor reelected, got it. House up for election anyway. It's a hold, but we can do it. And in general, a state house seat is really cheap. A state senate seat is more expensive. A governorship is more expensive than like a house race is more expensive than a senate race is more expensive than a presidency. So the state house races, tiny districts, pretty cheap in the grand scheme of things. We can do this, and these don't get coverage, right? We're getting down to people who are basically like they work in their town, getting elected for something in their county or whatever. These are like moms and dads who barely know what social media is. These races come down to no more than 10,000 votes. And like $10,000 basically, can like make a world of difference. And that's like on the high end. In like a house race, it can even be like about like 2,000 votes. So I found there's a site called oath.vote, which uses an algorithm to rank how effective on a 10-point scale your donation would be to that race right now. And then I filter that by state races in these swing states. And then I cross-reference that with the DCCC's like target races. And so then I made a spreadsheet of all of them. And so if we want to find like the races we can make the most impact and cheer on and make our little characters and like our fandom and like that we can be cheerleaders for and like make little fan art of and then talk about on social media that literally no one is talking about, these are the most efficient tippable lifts that no one is talking about. And so I'm working on this. I'm going to narrow it down. I'm going to add some more information. I also have like their top issues they're running on, which is really helpful. Affordability, education, healthcare seem to be like the common themes almost everywhere. So if we talk about those things in our content, and then we talk about these candidates, and we say, hey, donate to this candidate, this can make a difference. And my goal is to put together a little Avengers team, like a little short list of, here's some state-level candidates, here's our little blorbos, or glupshittos that no one knows anything about, have no presence. And then if we start talking about them, like leftists talk about Mom Donnie, we have the scope with our audiences to like literally gain power. Like we can do this. So this is my project this week.
Give me, just because I'm from Pennsylvania, what's the top? And I'm curious to compare this to Aidan's recommendation. We mentioned house races. When we talk about house races and the competitive house races in Pennsylvania right now, which one should we be focusing on, donating to, etc.?
So I'm looking at state house. Yeah, you go.
He's talking about state. She's talking about state legislature. You mean like for the? Because I was talking about federal house races.
Okay.
Yeah.
So fair enough. I still want the answer from both of you. Let's talk about the state legislature first with Alice, and then I want to talk about house races with Aidan. Give us your state legislature. Like again, same thing. These, according to you, these states, a little money can go a long, long way. What's if I wanted to give 1,000 to one of these races, which one should I give it to?
Sure. So there's a couple, and these would also be good to like even like talk about and make content about. Pennsylvania, highest ranking ones. There's a state senator who in the area I grew up on. I think she's kind of not the strongest candidate, but that's
Frank
pretty good.
Burns is a really good guy to give money to in the state house because he's extremely incredible because he is a Democrat in like a Trump plus 40 state house district, and he won like in 2024. It's crazy.
The two highest I have for Pennsylvania are Chris Thomas and Jeff Warren. I have all of their websites up here. Let me just find the right tag.
Is there a place where this is publicly viewable that people can go?
No, I can in the next couple of days clean this up.
Yeah, could you clean it up and make it a public? Like, I think that as a public resource, that would be very, very useful.
Absolutely. And part of that is I don't want to spread us too thin. So I'm going to find it might be like one candidate from each of these states, or it might just be like the top 5 or 6 or whatever. And I'm going to make that like, this is a short cast. Talk about these 5 or 6 races through November. Like,
these
we
are the
need to
state
be like
legislatures that you want to boost. If you want to boost, these are because people look, national elections are much more sexy. People get really into them, but the state elections matter a lot. And people underestimate how much that can change how a community is governed. Like, these state elections are something you should be focusing on.
Yeah, and there's like no media competition for this whatsoever.
I think looking.
Literally within the scope of like our channels, we can be the tipping point.
I'll say a digital ground game. We have been looking into state legislative races, and so we have been like getting in contact with candidates and stuff, and we're having our local teams do canvassing and stuff with them. So this is something that we are focusing on in digital ground game, but we don't have anything like this spreadsheet, which is like amazingly awesome. We do not have that right.
This is a good place to cross-pollinate and coordinate.
Yes,
I think that
100%.
Alice, you're doing amazing work. And if I could contribute in any way, is to put you guys in the same room, get you talking, and get you sharing information one with another, which is kind of a side effect of what I'm trying to do tonight. Fair enough. These are good. Please make those available at your earliest convenience, the 2 top ones, so that I can look at and maybe throw 100 to one of those.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's Chris Thomas, who's kind of like a populist rural guy, who's a volunteer firefighter. And then there's like a musician with a guitar.
Whichever one speaks to me more, okay? The top 2, I think, fair enough. Aidan, let's talk about those house races.
Yes. So in Pennsylvania, the most competitive or the easiest flip for Democrats is looking like Pennsylvania 7, which is Bob Brooks, who is a very strong candidate, and he's so strong that he was endorsed by both Josh Shapiro and Bernie Sanders in the primary. So he's basically like the billions must smile meme, basically put into a person. So he's got everybody loving him. He's a firefighter. He's incredible. He's looking very strong to flip that seat in Pennsylvania 7. After that, or did you want the most one, or did you want me to like list them in order, or what?
I want if I had to pick one to give money to where I could have the biggest impact, right? Like if I were like, hey, I got a donor guy and I could whisper in this guy's ear and he'd give $5,000 to a candidate. Or if I was like, hey, I have time to go canvass for a weekend or phone bank for a weekend, where should I do it?
So I would recommend Pennsylvania 8. It is the closest to a true toss-up that I would think. It is it's up in Northeast PA, so it's Scranton. It's a very kind of like Obama-Trump area. But the Republican candidate is very weak. He had a big scandal for insider trading stuff. And the Democratic candidate, Paige Cognetti, is very strong. She's a blue dog. She's highly connected to labor. So that district is a Trump district, or Trump-y district, that is a toss-up right now because of the weakness of the Republican and the strength of the Democrat. So it's kind of in that Ohio bucket right now, where it's kind of like at that same kind of level with the wave and everything.
Name it again, 8?
Yes, Pennsylvania 8th
Pennsylvania
Congressional District.
8th, gang. I'll look into it. Okay. No, that's a good one. Interesting. Okay, last segment. Then we got to go. What's your wild card race? Something that no one's talking about, that you're like, wow, this is such a interesting race. This is so close. This matters more than people are letting on. What's your wild card right now?
So my wild card is Mississippi Senate, and I'll tell you why. So in the Deep South, these states usually are safe but they're usually kind of close actually. And the reason is because the South is extremely racially polarized, and so Republicans usually always win, but they usually always win by around the same amount. It's like in Mississippi, it's usually like 16%. And that's because the black community is always coming out for Democrats. They're very strong. And so there's always like that 40% that Democrats are always able to get to. And the reason why it's my dark horse is because Democrats nominated a very strong candidate with Scott Collum, and there's a potential for extremely high black turnout and also demotivated rural white turnout. So if the perfect storm kind of happens there could be a thing where the seat magically flips for some reason because there was super high black turnout and really low white turnout. And that's possible in a state like Mississippi, which is not as red as Alabama or Arkansas or Louisiana, but it's like just enough where like if the perfect storm happens, Democrats could theoretically flip it.
That is interesting. I hadn't even looked at Mississippi. I'm going to be real with you. Alice, any dark horse candidates, wild card races, anything like that?
Yeah, I have two small ones. One a moderate and one a leftist who I support. This is just very funny to me. This is one I found. Holly Lyon. She is a retired Air Force colonel, and like her website and her vibe is just so campy and over the top. And it's just this like veteran, patriot, ready to serve again in like bold letters. This just seems deeply funny to me, and this is like one of those weird swing races you get in Arizona that I've just never like
Fair
seen or
enough.
heard of.
Fair enough. She speaks to you. I got it.
Yeah, and she has a very dorky fashion sense, and I appreciate that. The other whose I don't have right now is a young, like kind of pretty far left, like community organizer called Robert Hunter in Alabama in like a rural red district, and he's volunteered like with his local library and stuff, and he's running against like an incumbent like millionaire kind of landlord bully in the area, and he's just like we can't afford rent. And just stepped up when no one else did. And he reached out and realized like there are no Democrats in the area, like no one's running. So he stepped up and he's like, I'm just a Democrat now. And he like won an uncontested primary. And then he also like got the DSA endorsement. Like he's just this lone guy out there in like deep red Alabama, like doing what he can. And it's such a small district that I think it comes down to like 500 votes. So if like you want like a leftist like who I think is ethically maybe worth supporting, like Robert Hunter, and that would just break a Republican supermajority in Alabama. Just fighting the good fight there out alone.
Good catch. Good catch. Okay, gang. Last message for Democrats. What should our message be? I think, and I'm going to go first here, I think we really need to stress the affordability issue. And not in a populist way, right? I'm talking about we need to build more houses. We need to put more money into your pocket by giving you opportunities. So, housing, job opportunities, growth, and just affordability of groceries. I think if we run on those three things, and like I said, you can't run on a lot. Like you got to focus housing, groceries, jobs. Big three. Maybe not surprising to hear me say this. Maybe it seems like bread and butter, but we get so caught up in culture war shit all the time, so distracted by it. We need to focus on these. And I think that's the way forward. I want to hear from Aidan, and then Alice, I'm going to let you have that last word here. And then we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to kick you guys out, and, well, you're going to also tell people where they can find you, and then I'll kick you guys out, and I'll explain to my audience what I got coming up. Go ahead.
All right, so this is going to be kind of boring because my answer is pretty much exactly the same. Affordability is the number one issue. We just got to stress that. Things like building houses is really popular, kind of abundance style, like affordability politics, not really the populist stuff, not degrowthing, not shrinking, but like just keep growing, but also making sure that people are able to get by, and really just telling voters that that they know that we care about them. It's not just like being distant and like you can't just be a workhorse. You have to also be able to show your voters that like, hey, I do care. I'm doing these things. You have to be able to also like communicate with your constituents. So yeah, that's my big thing.
No, I agree. People in chat are asking, how is that not populist? Look, go watch my debates on populism. Populist rhetoric would be like, we need to build more houses because those filthy elites, are keeping them from you and buying up all the houses, right? That would be a populist messaging. Having
capitalism requires an enemy.
Yes. A non-populist messaging is like, hey, there's a lot of regulations, there's a lot of zoning laws that are out of date. We could fix those. We can modernize these things to meet the needs of the people. We can get more houses. We could build more. And if we build more, it's going to have more opportunities for you to get rent is going to go down, and you're going to get more chances to buy. That's the difference. Okay. Alice, please.
We need to, we all want to create opportunities for our families, but the rich are not paying their fair share. But we are going to build a future for our working families that we can afford by investing in building affordable housing, having reduced cost prescription drugs, and securing Social Security for our future generations. I think that's it. I've been like reading all of the communication guides I know. It's the same bullet points every single time. Yeah, but those are the big things. It's healthcare, Social Security, and just daily cost of living, like food. That's number one.
Gotta get food prices down. I need more steak.
And say working families as much as possible.
Working families, working people, working class, working families, working hard, working for you, and not the elites, right? No, that I understand. Okay.
And you can find me at shesrightshow.com.
Please.
Or on any social media platform.
And Aidan, where could people find you?
Yes, you can find me at Digital Ground Games, and specifically, I'm a coordinator at the research team. So if you'd like to get more involved in this stuff, please join us, Digital Ground Game.
Check them out, gang. Thank you both so much for being here. I do appreciate your input. This has been one of the, I think, best discussions on this topic I have seen. And I don't say that lightly. There's been a lot of back and forth and things like that. But I think then when we want to cut through the noise, please share this with people. Share this with influencers. Share this. Like if you can distract them from talking about who's anti-Semitic and who's not for a minute, right? Show them this stream. Get them to actually look at what voters are actually voting on. And yeah, it should be fun. Okay, gang, I'm going to let you guys go, and then I'm going to tell my audience what I got coming up. Bye.
Bye.
What a pleasure both of those people are. Really, really enjoy them. Really, really like having them on the show. They are whip smart, and I trust their judgment. I don't agree with everything they said, right? Like me, we have a little bit of different things, but we're all working in this. We're all going in the same direction. We all have the same kind of values and ideas. Okay. Let's talk about what we got coming up. So tomorrow, speaking of anti-Semitism, tomorrow I'm going to be having on Lonerbox. I'm going to be having on Soy Pill. I'm going to be having on Kraut. And I'm going to be having on Social Society, a new person to the Wickverse. And we are going to be discussing AIPAC and anti-Semitism. At what point are people who scream AIPAC, 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 AIPAC? I stubbed my toe. It must have been AIPAC. My girlfriend left me. Those AIPAC handlers are at it again, ruining my life. At what point does that become anti-Semitism? At what point does that become like, okay, man, like this is a little weird. You might be an anti-Semitic person, right? On that, just to kind of delve into the drama, we can recognize that you don't have to have an ounce of hate in your heart for Black people, Mexicans, Muslims, Jews, whoever, to act in bigoted ways, to run cover for bigotry, right? To do things with bigoted outcomes. I think it's a mistake. I think it's a distraction. I think it's an obfuscation to talk about what's in someone's heart of hearts and whether they're secretly an anti-Semite or do they hate the Jews in their heart, or do they love the Jews in their heart? That does not matter, right? That does not matter. Are the actions that you're advocating for or perhaps the way you are advocating lead to bigotry against Jewish people? What is the outcome? What is the result? What happens, right? That's where our focus should be. And if you want to say that, well, I don't actually hate the Jews, right? It's just that all the advocacy I do and all the actions I take end up hurting the Jews. But I don't want to, right? That's not the purpose of me doing it. I still think that you are doing something that has bigoted outcomes. Now, bigoted outcomes aren't the worst thing in the world. If what you think you want is more important than that, I mean, you could make the case depending, but it's dishonest to focus on whether or not you hate the Jews, because that's not what the conversation's about. Not really, when it comes to anti-Semitic outcomes. That said, I do think a lot of these people fucking hate the Jews, okay? And we're going to go over some of these messages tomorrow. I think that a lot of people have really masked on real hard, and but that's, again, not the point. And anyone who tries to focus on that, I think, is doing you a disservice. Hate crimes against Jewish people in New York City have skyrocketed. I believe nationally they have skyrocketed, and it's in large part because of how we talk about these things. How we discuss these subjects, how we go about advocating for what we do, right? I'll give you one example, one teaser for tomorrow, okay? Let me find it. One teaser, okay? Did I save it? I hope I saved it. Maybe I really hope I did. I'll find it later, but here's a funny teaser. How's that? Here's a funny teaser for you. You got the match made in heaven here. Oh, he hates the bank CEOs, capitalism in Israel. And then you have, she hates, parentheses, the banks, parentheses, CEOs, parentheses, capitalism, and parentheses, Israel. I think it's funny, and I think this is kind of how it plays out, right? You are basically feeding in to anti-Semitic narratives, whether you hate the Jews or you love the Jews, when you, again, blame everything, even things that it's not the fault of, on AIPAC. Or when you pretend someone has taken AIPAC money when they have not, just to discredit them. You are playing in to anti-Semitic narratives when you talk about how the Jews control, like when you talk anything related to Zog. That's a very anti-Semitic narrative. And again, it does not matter if you actually hate the Jews or not. It does not. And I can't stress this enough. And I see people make that mistake over and over and again and bang their heads against the walls of, well, what, does this person actually hate the Jews or not? That's not the tack, okay? That's not the question at hand. So, yeah. Anything else from the peanut gallery? Anything you guys want to share with me? Yes, no, maybe. Cool. Guess not. What else we got? Today's a light week. This was a light week. Friday I have a debate, but my debate partner, my debate opponent wants to change the subject because he misunderstood my position, and we're waiting back to see what that subject is. But I am going to be debating Dragon Fist TV on something. We're going to find out what that is. He better not just run away entirely, but hopefully he can, and hopefully there'll be go. The original topic was, is Christianity compatible with liberalism? And he did not understand what I meant by liberalism. And when it was explained to him, he was like, oh no, I don't disagree. I don't know. It is what it is. So we'll find something. I suggested, I don't know if he wants to take this or not, but I suggested which party is acting more in accordance with Christ's teachings, the Democrats or Republicans. I would be happy to have that debate. Democrats all the way, 100%. Doesn't mean they're perfect, right? But they are much more Christ-like than the Republicans are at this point in time. $5 from Super Plat Anoman to say, I can never forget AIPAC and Bibi derailing the Iran deal. And now we have the clown Trump. In this war, he cannot win. Well, thank you for those $5. Do appreciate it. Radical Centrist says, to be honest, you should just debate him on Democrats being more Christian. Well, again, I would. I want to. But he wants to do, I guess one of his proposed topics is like, which party brings you closer to divinity? And look, I don't think a political party brings you closer to divinity. That's not a stance I would agree with at all. But it is what it is. Oh, and if you didn't see, Friday, we had Andrew Wilson versus Candace Owens. And people keep asking me, who do you think won, Andrew Wilson or Candace Owens? Baby, we got clips of them both looking retarded as fuck. The winner? It's Wick, baby. It's Wick again. The haters. It's the haters. It's the double haters, right? It's the people who think Candace Owens is a conspiracy theorist moron and Andrew Wilson is just retarded, right? Look, at the end of the day, in every universe, Andrew Wilson wins that on the merits. He's just correct on the substance. But debates aren't just about substance. Debates are about presentation, persuasion. How do you look, right? How do you come across? How well are you able to articulate and communicate your positions and your points? And he failed. He failed at it. He looked so bad. He was right. But you wouldn't know that from the debate, right? Watching Candace Owens ask him to name a single charge or which charge had the most evidence, right? So Candace Owens was like, which of the charges against Tyler Robinson do you think has the most evidence against it? And he fumbled. It was obvious he didn't know any of the charges, right? It was very clear. He's like, I don't know. Let's bring them up and see. And Candace pounced on it, and he says, well, can you name a charge? And he tried murder, but it wasn't murder. It was aggravated murder. These are not the same. And then this is where he fucking lost, right? Because up to this point, it's still salvageable if you respond correctly. If you know how to debate it all, you can respond to it and be like, well, you know what? I don't think it matters the specific charge. I think the evidence when we talk about overall, it is specifically that Tyler Robinson pulled that trigger, which is what we're here to debate about. He could have gone that tack and it would have been beautiful. And it would have countered Candace's push here. But he's a moron. And so he didn't do that very obvious thing and decided to pop quiz her and double down. It's like, well, can you name all 7? And that's the stupidest fucking thing to ask Candace Owens, who is a smart lady, despite being a little bit of a conspiracy theorist. Well, I say a little bit, a lot of a conspiracy theorist, possibly a grifter, but she's not stupid. She comes in and she knows all 7. And he's trying to distract her the whole time. Oh, well, trying to interrupt as do his Andrew Wilson thing. And it just looks really, really bad because she, again, very calmly, very clearly, very, very intelligently articulates each of the charges, and she's even able to go and talk about the charges in a very what seems to be informed manner, right? Again, this isn't about substance, this is about presentation, right? And then after she does that, Wilson decides to call her a cheater and demand that they check her phone. Well, I don't think he demanded they check her phone, but he made some kind of suggestions like, oh, you got a text there or something. They probably texted you the answers. And so Candace, again, pounced on that. Says, no, check my phone. Gave it to the moderator, went through the text messages, nothing there. He looked petty. He looked stupid. He looked uninformed. He looked like a fucking fool, right? But again, on the substance, he was correct in the debate. We got to give him that. But again, that's not what mattered here. Like anyone who's like, well, he was right. does not matter. That's not what the debate was about. That's not what the debate was for, right? If you're going to go in there against Candace Owens, you are going in there to try to make her look bad and convince her audience that you are correct and cast doubt into their audience. He did not approach it like that. He failed. And okay. It was funny. It was funny to watch. It was because he failed. You could tell by his body language. You could tell by how he acted afterwards. You could just tell he knows he screwed the pooch. So again, who won the debate? The double haters, baby. The double haters. We love it. Okay. I love you all. Yeah, and he paid $300,000 for it. Look, can someone challenge me to a debate for $300,000? I will lose for them. I will throw it. I'll throw the debate. You give me $300,000, I will throw. I'll be like, yeah, sure. Christian nationalism is I will be like, I will throw it. I don't know. $300,000 is a lot of money. Okay. I love you all. Oh, yeah, and trying to get AI to tell you that look, AI doesn't and not AI, learning language models, an LLM like ChatGPT or Claude or something to tell you these things. I don't know. It's stupid. It looks stupid. It makes you look stupid. Yeah. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Wick out. Bye.